Let's all stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would need a motion and a second to adopt tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Now we have some addition.
Yeah, the items in red need to be added.
Okay, we'll add 7A, update from Davidson County Animal Control. 10A, approved involuntary commitment transport plan. And a closed session on 18A, attorney-client privilege and personnel.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of January 2nd, 2024 minutes. I did a motion and second for that also.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as read.
Second. Any additions or deletions on that? Not, all in favor? Say aye. Motion carries. Public comment. Citizens may speak on items not listed on the printed agenda. Please state your name and address and observe the 3-minute time limit. And we have one person that signed up tonight. Haley Gray. Are you going to address the board? All right.
Hello, I'm Haley Gray. I'm the Junior Miss North Carolina Sunshine Queen, and I've been planting flowers and beautifying Denton.
For your Haley's Hope.
For my Haley's Hope platform.
And what is your motto for your platform?
Always remember to be kind, to be gracious, help others, and be the sunshine in someone's day.
Miss Haley has planted flowers in all of our planters downtown and also at the South Welcome to Denton sign. So she wanted to let you guys know that she takes pride in the town and really
Thank you very much.
It's a credit here.
Anyone else? Presentation by Davidson County Fraternal Order of Police for Lodge 97 to Mark Hicks. Retirement and 30 years of service. Tony Staley. How are you, Mr. Davis?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
My name is Tony Staley. I'm the Lodge President for the Davidson County Fraternal Order Police Lodge. I want to thank the town of Denton and the town council for allowing me to present Mark Hicks' retirement plaque on behalf of the Davidson County Fraternal Order Police Lodge. I also would like to thank this town council and their administrative staff. When I come down here to do my solicitation paperwork and deal with them, they treat me just like family, and I really appreciate that. And thank them for all they do for us. If Mark would come up. The plaque says Davidson County Fraternal Order Police Lodge 97 presented Chief Mark Hicks in appreciation of years of dedication and service to the city of Denton, North Carolina, and the law enforcement community 2023. Being a retired officer myself, I know the pains and trials and tribulations officers go through. And Mark, I want to thank you for your service to our community, to the town of Denton, and all the things you've done for this area and stuff, the community, the county as a whole. And on behalf of our lodge, thank you so much for your service and your service to the community. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me that time.
Certainly.
Well reserved, Chief.
Thank you, sir. So Lillian here.
Yep.
Hey, Lillian. Davidson County Health Department updates. Lillian Koontz, Health Director.
Thank you so much. Apologies. Public health never sleeps, and I was working late, so and rushing here. But whew, I heard there was a bad accident. They had cleared that up, so I was thankful for that and hope that those involved are doing as well as possible. I am Lillian Koontz. I serve y'all as your public health director, so thank y'all for having me here. I just wanted to share with y'all some issues that we're seeing at the public health department. There's really no action. This is really for your information, but because of your role and the important role that you all play in Denton, I thought that you should hear this, and I wanted you also to be aware of just this trend we're seeing. Rabies. It is a preventable disease with a vaccine. It is endemic in North Carolina, which means it is here. No matter if we get all the pets vaccinated, rabies will still be here. It moves from wild animals, amongst wild animals, and then unfortunately oftentimes makes its way to our pets. In the past 5 years, we're seeing an alarming trend where the majority of our cases of positive rabies encounters are in the southern Davidson County area, down here in Denton particularly. Last year, about 18 months ago, we had an incident with a feral cat in the Denton area where we actually had to send a mailer out. We didn't have to, but that was the choice we made at the public health department because it was a feral cat colony. We contacted the state veterinarian who recommended a 1 mile radius, and we actually sent mailers to people who lived within a 1 mile area of where this positive cat was and said, there's been a positive feral cat in your area. Please make sure that your pets are vaccinated and up to date. And if you get in contact with a wild animal, please seek medical treatment. The thing that alarms me as a public health director is rabies is 99.9% fatal. You don't get bitten by an animal and don't get treatment and then start to feel a little wonky and take some medicine. That's not how this works. Once you contract rabies, you die. Now, if you are in contact with a rabid animal, you can receive post-exposure vaccinations, and that will prevent you from getting rabies. So it's not the type of thing that is a death sentence if you're exposed, but it is a death sentence if you become infected. The things that y'all should know too is that it is transmittable by all mammals, except we've not really seen it in possums. So that's one of the things that we find interesting about rabies and the virus. One of the things, too, that is interesting that a lot of people don't know, if you wake up and you find a bat in your bedroom, you need to seek post-exposure. Bats carry rabies, and they can bite you, and you might not realize it. Their teeth are very small. So bats get in houses a lot. Fortunately, it's not one of those things that we hear about often where the rabies exposure or someone dying from rabies, but if there's a bat in your home, and you're not sure that it was in your bedroom at night, you need to seek post-exposure treatment. Post-exposure is kind of expensive. It's not as bad as it used to be. Y'all probably heard stories about people getting shots in their stomach, incredibly painful, a series. It's not quite as bad anymore, but it's still not pleasant. Nobody likes to get shots. For domesticated pets, there's a North Carolina general statute that requires all pets to be vaccinated against the rabies virus by the age of 4 months. Y'all have veterinarians here that do it. We often do rabies clinics at the health department that we will provide low-cost rabies vaccines, and our Davidson County Animal Shelter is currently providing rabies vaccines at no cost. So if you go to the to the animal shelter and ask for a rabies vaccine, we receive some funding at the public health department. We purchased it, so they will give it to you at no cost. Rabies vaccines are good for either a year or 3 years. It depends on the administrator, but you need to keep those up to date. If your pet were to bite someone and your pet was not up to date for the rabies vaccine, your pet would face a very grim outcome. Your pet would either have to be confined for 10 days, depending on the status of your pet, like where you live, what kind of pet it is, and then as long as it survived the 10 days, then it can go home. The grim outcome is more about if your pet gets involved with a rabid animal in your yard or an animal of unknown origin in your yard. Your pet will either be confined for 4 months, which is incredibly expensive because the veterinarians in our area that do that type of quarantine charge a lot of money because they have to be kept separate, or most oftentimes people euthanize their pets. We don't like it when that happens. Very recently, in fact, last week, we had an animal. It was in the Belmont community, so southern Davidson County, but not quite in the Denton area. Belmont near 85, where the business park is. Skunk, dog, skunk was rabid, dog, and several cats that were indoor-outdoor cats were euthanized because of this exposure. Most recently, our human contacts. It was November of last year. A gentleman who was in Thomasville had a cat that was not acting quite right. The cat bit him, scratched his mother, and he said, I just don't think I need to keep this cat. Mama's a little bit old. I don't need a cat that's acting like this. So he took the cat to the shelter and said, hey, I've had this cat for a long time. It started acting weird. I'd just like to give it to y'all. The shelter called me on Saturday and said, this cat's not acting right, not sure what's going on with it. The cat, they requested to euthanize it because they thought it was sick. And because it had bitten somebody, we tested it for rabies and it was positive. If that cat had run off, or that gentleman had not taken the cat to the shelter, he and his mother most likely would have contracted the rabies virus and died. So that was a near miss, and that's not the type of thing that we want to do. So that's what brings me here to y'all. I hope that y'all use your platform, your friendships, the folks you know to talk about just how important this is and what we need to be doing. Like I said, rabies is endemic in the United States. We're not going to get rid of it. An animal that is contagious, this is really important too, which is interesting to me. Any animal that is contagious or shedding the virus will die within 10 days. So that is a little bit of a helpful breather for the public health department. We don't have to euthanize unvaccinated pets if they bite a person and they survive longer than 10 days. So that's the kind of work we do at the health department. We track animals when they bite somebody. We make sure they're alive 10 days from now, and then that way we're not sending people to get shots. When the shelter is not providing rabies vaccines for free, they are very low cost and they are $5. So this is a really affordable way to protect yourself and your pets. Talk to y'all about the cat. We've also seen what I would describe as a little bit unique trend where we're seeing it in farm animals. We're seeing cows and goats that have rabies. And so there's been a lot of farmers that have received post-exposure because if you're handling a cow or a goat and rabies is transferred through saliva. Y'all know farmers, I know farmers, a lot of times we have cuts on our hands. If you have a cut on your hand and you touch the saliva of an animal shedding the rabies virus, you're at risk for contracting rabies. And those were the notes that I wanted to tell y'all about. So at the health department, if you have any questions, we're always there to answer them. And also, it is reportable by law. Any animal bite is supposed to be reported to the health department so we can do our due diligence and investigate and talk with the person that was bitten and explain to them their risk and what they should be doing post-exposure. So I thank y'all. I don't know if y'all do questions, but if you do, I'm here to answer them. And if not, I just greatly appreciate the time.
Lillian, are there any clinics scheduled in our area?
So right now we haven't done it yet. We wait till the spring usually. Last year we did, I think I have those numbers. We did 4 at the health department. 3 of them are in the South Davidson area, and we did about 700 vaccines when we tallied all 4 of them up. We love to come places where it's easy to get in and out of. We like to see people that bring cars full. The exposure that I was just talking about the skunk yesterday, they had some indoor pets, and it was determined that they were also unvaccinated. So 15 animals got a vaccine last week because of the skunk, but they weren't exposed, so they weren't threatened for euthanasia. But I don't see those numbers here, but it was, here we go, 640. Last year we did it at Bethany United Methodist Church in April, so we'll start in April. That's when our first one will be. We did one at Denton Elementary School in June, and at that one we did 141. Then we did the Thomasville Public Library in August, and that was 189. And then in September, we were at the Mount Zion Church, and that was 94. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you.
Update from Davidson County Animal Control, Officer Christian Souls.
It ended up working out well that she spoke ahead of time. So basically, the Chief James and I have been working pretty diligently in the city. I think some people are aware. You guys have a horrifying cat issue in the city. It's not just the city, so if that makes you feel better, it's throughout the whole county. The city, just because it is so small, it's alarming that it's this many cats in one area. At the houses that I've been to, the 4 that I've been to so far, there's 40 plus cats. And that's what I can see and count. So you can just say, if you count that many, triple it, that's really how many are there. They're not spayed, they're not neutered, they're not vaccinated. One particular issue I'm having right now, one house up on Newsom, these cats have all so far tested FIV, which is cat AIDS positive. So now anything that's coming in contact with these other kitties, because they're not spayed and not neutered, they get that from sexual contact and biting. So these cats, however far they're traveling, all these cats are now HIV AIDS positive, which they can live for a while on that, but outside cats tend to not live as long because they need to be treated symptomatically. The symptoms for that, it looks like a upper respiratory, and you think, oh, my cat's just got a cold. Oh, he's just got goopy eyes. Oh, it's just allergy season, when in fact, it's really not. It is a very horrifying death when they get towards the end, when they're not treated symptomatically, so these animals are going to suffer. It slowly cuts down, it takes all of their blood cell count down, and they become anemic, and then their liver and organs start shutting down. There's videos. If you're a cat person, I recommend you not watch them, but there is videos and research how they've watched the disease progress so that they can get people charged or, things like that to get these things spayed and neutered. When the shelter gets them, it's hard enough for them right now because it is a small shelter to get these animals adopted, because they either have to be in no other cat home, so they have to be an only cat, or they have to be in a home where the cat's already AIDS positive. The other issue is I believe that some of these cats are probably leukemia positive as well, but it usually doesn't pop positive until they've already had the AIDS vaccine for a while. So now you've got a cat that's going to have cancer. All the research is showing that they get cancer every time. So then that's when they're popping positive for leukemia. Also another horrifying death, obviously. So along with the rabies issue, getting everybody to get in compliance, now we've got this issue where these animals are potentially going to suffer to pass away. Some of them at this property, when I first went out, I've been doing it long enough, I said, I bet you we got AIDS and leukemia cats out here. And the first one was pregnant, and she is AIDS and leukemia positive. So it makes it hard to get these animals adopted at that point, which stinks. But There's one thing that an officer told me when I first started doing cruelty investigations was some things are worse than death. And some of these things and some of these diseases that these animals can contract is worse than death. So while I don't want to have to euthanize 50 cats from one house, I also don't want that animal to suffer on the same token. So we're working really hard, but it seems like the more I bring in, I see 10 more when I go back that I didn't see the first time. Then you've got people feeding cats. Well, then that's getting cats to move to other properties. So now you're transferring AIDS, leukemia, possible rabies, and now we're just spreading it throughout y'all's whole little bitty town right now, and it is small. So I don't, and the problem is at the shelter, they're not gonna be able to test all these cats because that costs into funding. And if they are positive, they're not able to recoup that adoption fee back because they just can't get them adopted out because there's not enough homes. So that's kind of where I'm at on that, plus the rabies. I know Chief James, he wants to be conservative and be fair with the public. We've tried not to issue any citations if we can get them to work with us, but I got people shutting my cat traps. And so I'm coming out here, I'm coming in an hour early on my dime and staying an hour late every day to come help out in the city of Denton for them to be shutting my traps and to keep feeding when I've asked them not to feed. They're not going to go in my traps because they're not hungry, because they're getting fed. So we're just overpopulating. I know there's feral colonies that exist in this county. They're not managed like they should be. If you do a feral colony, the animal should be trapped every year, spayed and neutered, tested to see if they're AIDS and leukemia positive or negative, and rabies vaccines, because they come in contact with the wildlife all the time. If they're not inside, they're eating squirrels, they're eating moles, they're eating rats. All of those things carry rabies. So we're chasing our tails and not getting anywhere at this point. I know you guys have a protocol for animals not being loose in the city. You guys actually have a wonderful ordinance to fall back on to get these people to cooperate. But we got to utilize them while I'm there, because I'm not always going to be able to come in an hour early or stay an hour late. You know, eventually the county's going to say, we're done. You know, I got to get on to bigger and better things. I do think you guys have enough for a full-time animal control officer, to just be honest. And I don't think these guys can handle that right now. They haven't been able to in quite some time. And it is a small area, but you guys have a huge cat problem to be as small of a city that you are. And I don't know what the answer to that is other than me to continue trapping. You know, I know you guys have the limit on the animals as well. I think that's going to be voted on coming up soon at putting a cap. I think that will help. But to be able to stand by it and make sure that that is enforced and that they're keeping these animals on their property. I know it says in the law book it's really for dogs, not running at large. It should state cats as well. You can state cats as well, and I think that should have that, because these animals don't need to be running around. I'm not a cat person. I have 2 barn cats, but if my neighbors called and complained that they were getting on their vehicles and scratching and peeing in their vents, which they do, especially when they're not spayed and neutered, I wouldn't want that neighbor to have cats either. And I think that's kind of where you guys are at. There's just so many. I think if you could get the population down, you know, seeing a cat here or there probably wouldn't be as big of an issue. And if they're tested and they're negative, it's not really, and they're vaccinated, it's not really a huge problem. I did suggest to Chief James about city licensing at another agency I went to. You had a $5 license. If they were rabies vaccinated and spayed or neutered, it's $5. If that animal is caught off your property and it has that city tag and they can verify, they call you and say, you're not going to get a ticket if you come put this cat up or if you come put this dog up. If not, you're going to get a ticket and it's going to go to the shelter and it's going to be impounded, but at least it'll get back to their family quicker. Then if they weren't spayed and neutered, it was a $25 fee. It's cheaper to just spay and neuter. We've got spay and neuter options out there right now. The SNP program, they're working as hard as they can trying to help people for under $50. You're not going anywhere. That I've told a lot of your city people, Vass Animal Clinic in Vass, North Carolina, it's a hike. But if they're feral cats, it's like $20, $25, and they do a rabies vaccine. You're not going to find it any cheaper like that. But then if you're going to do feral colonies, you got to have somebody that's going to man your feral colonies. I just don't. Any feral colonies I've dealt with, they haven't they haven't stayed up to par. So I'm not saying that should be an option, but I'm just saying it is an option if you can get the proper mandate, I guess, for it. So, but I didn't know if you guys had any questions as far as animal control stuff. I know we're trying to work with some of you guys and getting some of these animals, the cats anyway, taken care of. But do you guys have any questions for me? Is there anything you see that I could do different that could help me help you?
What can we do to help you?
I need another me.
I can't help you there.
Honestly, at this point, some more cat traps.
We can do that.
I'm setting them out as much as I can. I think we're going to try to send some letters to some of these places that are feeding and not cooperating. I really don't want to charge these people, especially if it's older people, but they're shutting the traps. They're feeding them. And I'm talking about pans like this of chicken, fish on a daily. So I pulled up to get my trap today and there were 6 sitting beside my trap like, you're funny. You're funny. They're not going to go in. So maybe making that cap, I know it's not on for voting right now, but I'm crying out to y'all when it does come to vote, please vote to get a cap so that we can try to get these numbers down. Like I said, I don't want to euthanize a bunch of cats. I get it. I have a bleeding heart. I love animals too. But at a point, we're at that point. We're going to start having some stuff suffer, or someone's going to get really hurt and not report it because they don't want the cat to be put down, and we're going to lose somebody.
Angel, we have that in place, don't we?
Well, I was just thinking, our last update that we did on that, we did do the 3 dogs, 3 cats. So either or, but they have to be contained. They can't be at large. So I think it's just a matter of having that updated and enforced. Now, the one thing that we
already
really,
updated, right?
yeah, one thing that we do need to do is the licensing, and I think we mentioned that is that right now it's not practice. We have not had registration for animals in quite some time, but to say you have to have a city license for your animals, and it's $5 if they're spayed or neutered, it's $25 if they're not, and then you also have people who are breeders who would register. So then you kind of know who your breeders are too, but it could help enforce this even more to be able to say this is another step that we're trying to take in order to control this population problem.
I have a question, just on a personal basis.
Sure.
At my business, I have 2 cats that they're in and out, and they're my mousers, and they have a purpose there. But they will not leave a collar on. I can put a collar on. 30 minutes later, it's gone. I have no idea how they do it, but it's gone.
So I would suggest a microchip. Because at least with the microchip, it's going to come back to you and you're going to say, oh gosh, my cat got off property, but here's my city license. You would probably have to go to their shelter at that point. They don't have a license on them. Obviously, we're not going to be able to know. Unfortunately, we don't have scanners in our truck right now. I'm trying to get some grants to where we can get some so that we can start scanning these guys when we trap or on the road so that we can get them back to their home so that we don't have to take them to the shelter, because we ideally don't want to do that because the shelter is full. But, if we could have the scanners in our truck, that would be easy enough just to swipe one. Hey, it's got a microchip. Here's my city licensing. We can return the cat back to you. And like I said, not everybody complains. Not everybody minds cats being there. But I will tell you, too, so kids are going to be going outside here soon. You got a sandbox. Cat comes and pees or poops in there. You got ringworm, hookworms, roundworms, giardia. All of those things hands go in their mouth because they're kids and they're nasty. Bam. Now you got something else too. So that's the other. It seems like for cats especially, it's never ending. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because they don't go to the vet quite as regular as like a dog does. But at least if they're not outside and they're contained, we'll kind of take away that issue a little bit. But that I would suggest a microchip. Any vet will do it. Do y'all do microchips at your?
The shelter does that.
Okay, so the shelter, when they do their clinics, and they do, I think, 2 a year, right? Spring and fall?
They do, they'll do microchips.
Okay. And it's free. When the shelter does it, I mean, it's been free. Anybody I come in contact with, I'm like, hey, go to the shelter. It's $5. If we get close to that date, I'll be like, I'll give you an extra week to get it done, only because that clinic's coming. But if I find out you didn't go to the clinic and didn't get it done, I'm coming back and I'm handing you a ticket. Or it's a misdemeanor charge. And I have charged that because I have some people that have just said, you know what, I'm just not doing it.
How much are cat tracks?
Tractor Supply, were they 20?
39 or 40.
Oh, so they've gone up. So 39. That's the cheapest I have found them was Tractor Supply. Amazon does have them, but I think they were a little bit more expensive on there. Did you get the 2-pack with that?
Yes, large one.
So it'll be a large and a small for the $39.99. Yep.
How many areas are you, we're doing 4 areas right now?
We're on the 5th one now, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, we're on to number 5 now. In one area, am I allowed to say where?
Generally, I would say yes.
Petunia-ish area. I'm getting I'm putting 2 traps, I'm getting 2 a day there, and I could get more because they're everywhere there. Like I said, Newsome, I think if we could get that under control, I'd probably get more. I think I've gotten, 5 total because I'm getting like maybe 1 a week, maybe 2 on that off week. But they're everywhere. I mean, when I come through at 6:40 in the morning through Denton, the whole road, it's like the pipers piping with the rats, but it's cats and nobody's piping. They're just there. They're everywhere. Down Main Street, down back where the police department is. I mean, they're everywhere out there. As soon as my headlights hit, every morning.
Any other questions that you have?
Thank you.
Kristen, Lillian, thank y'all for coming tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
This is really good information.
Mayor, while we on this, what would it take to do a cat and dog license?
We just have to amend the ordinance to require it. Do we have it in the
It's
specific?
already in, and I didn't print that section, it's already in the ordinance that we do. It's just not been
It's
practiced.
just not been
Right.
enforced.
I don't know if it has been in a very long time, but we could,
Not in 40 years.
okay.
I was gonna say, I know they did it back in the 70s.
Did they?
Because I'd read
So,
the articles, yeah.
What we would need to do is to set what our cost is. And like I said, other towns are doing a $5 if you bring us proof that it's spayed or neutered. And that would have to come from, their vet or a clinic where they had it done. And then offering, the $25 if they're not, but then also having proof of rabies vaccination. Because I think even the, people who are providing, like our groomers, they're requiring to make sure they have rabies vaccinations, so when they come in, they're not taking a chance of cross-contaminations.
Well, and historically, it has been reported on your personal property tax listing is how it has in the past been handled. And Randolph County still does that.
Davidson County still has a spot, but I would probably guarantee that people don't report it on
3%.
there. Yeah, maybe 30%.
Maybe.
So,
So it's a matter of getting the requirements out to folks. And one of the easiest ways is to send out with a water bill and say, these are the new requirements. If you have a pet and it's not licensed and you haven't registered it, and so that's kind of the easiest way to update it.
And you're limited to 3.
We also have, we do our quarterly newsletter. We normally do it, regular quarters, but we could send it out earlier, and just put a full page information in there. This is what the new requirements are, and give them a date to have things in order. And it would also take a yearly reminder, because you have to register them yearly, just like with our golf cart registration, we have to send out reminders that people have to show the proof of insurance, liability, and stuff yearly, so.
Well, and it would take enforcement, if they're not registered, you're gonna have to fine them. And an explanation in the letter that you send out as to why you're doing it and what you're trying to control. And if these cats are diseased, not only is it a problem because there's the number of them, it's a problem because of the disease.
Yes, for the health and welfare of citizens.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the people who, and I probably should have asked you this, so where these cats are being fed, they know, I mean, you've talked to them and they know that they're,
I have threatened charges.
and they don't, see, I just, that blows my mind.
I have, lightly, gently, of course, and I, several times actually, and I think we've come to the conclusion we may have to send like a certified letter possibly. Hey, if you don't comply, and there's other issues there. And here's my other question. So say this house has 6 cats inside. If they're going to go down to a 3 rule, are they going to be grandfathered in? Do they have to get down? That would be the only.
Grandfathered in.
Okay, so I said, okay, those 6 stay inside for now. They haven't been tested. I encouraged the testing, explained what it was, explained if you don't get the testing and this animal is positive, and then I come out here and they're symptomatic, which I'm not allowed to see the ones inside. The smell alone tells me all I need to know when she opens the door. I've said, you do realize you could be charged with cruelty for this.
I'm like you, I mean, I love animals, but I don't want diseased animals.
Well, and I even said, what if you, so in terms of herpes, I'm like, what if you infect another cat? Because a lot of times with that, I call it hoarding mentality, they can't think past right there. So I said, what if this cat bites this new cat that comes up and now you've infected this cat, now this cat's gonna be sick and die. And I thought that clicked, but it didn't. It did for like 5 minutes.
Well, the ones that had HIV, I mean, some of that stuff there, what did the person say that was feeding those cats?
It's the same person.
Well, I thought it might be, I think I know. But did that not bother them to think that was out and about
At
with
first.
the cats?
At first, for about 5 minutes, and then it was like gone with the wind again. Because I said, well, so this one that you have been letting in and out is the one that was positive. So I said, so now your inside cats are probably positive. I said, so we really need to get them tested. There's not a problem. Yeah.
With the, looking at doing the city licensing, and I don't remember what costs we had on there, but are you good with the saying, if they're spayed and neuter, $5, if not, it's $25 registration and free vaccine? And we can definitely post, get everything ready, bring it back before you make sure it's approved, and then send it out as soon as that's done. We'll have to find the type of tags. I'll work with the chief and see if we can figure out the type of tags to provide for them too. Probably have to get a stamper to do our own if we're going to do that many. Probably be cheaper, easier.
Well, and a lot of times cats won't wear tags, but if the owners have the proof, then it's done.
Yeah, because they registered on, they have proof, we have a copy of that, so if one was found, they could say, what this cat is.
But the cat still can't roam free.
Right.
So the tag shouldn't be an issue unless they just happen to escape.
And even if we're grandfathered in 6, or we're grandfathered in 20,
I think that becomes a,
So the county has a cap at 6, or you're required to be a breeder. So that they have high volume breeders / hoarding. In under that statute, it's 6. So I would say you would be safe at that. Yeah. I think the state require, it's like 9, but the county ordinance has adopted 6. But it doesn't say like 3 this or 3 that. It's like 3 of the same species. So 3 or 6 cats or 6 dogs, then anything over that, which is the whole county. There's very rarely I go to a house that there's not at least 10 dogs and 20, 30 cats at minimum. That's nothing for me to see in one house.
And one other thing that Chief James and Officer Souls has talked about too is that when the county finishes updating their animal control ordinance, that we should look at that and try to mirror what theirs says. It makes it easier for enforcement for them. So.
Yeah, because you guys have the leash requirement. We don't. So when I come in, it gets a little hairy if we come get a dog that's running at large and they have to go pay that fine. But you guys have a leash law, so they can enforce that at the shelter. We just can't if it's out in the county limits. But it does say dogs too, so you may need to skirt the cat on in there for, being off property, and you can do it by fee scale. That's what we did. If it was not spayed or neutered, it was one price outside of the city licensing part. It was a different scale, and each time was a higher. And then if they were taken to the shelter or found off property 3 times, on that 4th time, they could lose ownership. You would have a hearing. It could be declared a nuisance animal, and you get your board, whoever you pick. I think ours was a vet, the health director, and maybe, I don't remember who it was, three separate people that had nothing to do with the county, basically. And after that, on that 4th time, they would go for a hearing and say why the animal shouldn't be declared a nuisance. But when it's been off the property and cited, to the 4th degree, it's time to get it out of the city, and they can vote to have it removed from the city.
you're done. Yeah. Chief, what do you need? More traps, more men, more people?
Well, I think more traps, and I will just say thanks to Christian for helping us. Our town pays Davidson County $2,000 a year, and thank you for helping us with this problem, because right now I don't have the people to do it. We have bought some of the traps, they're providing some, but they're in use throughout the county, so I've got all of ours labeled Denton PD. So no problem getting more traps. As we research it and as I see and pay attention, it's a bigger problem than I even thought it was. And today I learned about another place where there's supposedly close to 100 in another trailer park that live underneath the trailer. So
Just 120, that's all. Just 120.
They're everywhere. I mean, you can't drive downtown without.
I can't drive in my driveway.
Yeah.
One down.
bring feed inside.
No, they'll know my people.
I'm just glad we get to use that, get what we pay for and get some service.
I
That's
definitely
been a
try.
long time.
And I will say that that's the reason that not only you guys, but the county is in the shape that it's in. Unfortunately, it's self-induced. But I'm hitting the ground as fast as I can, hard as I can, from the time I get up until 7, 8 o'clock sometimes. We do have a new officer, Officer Fleming. Y'all probably see him a little bit. I think Chief James met him a couple times. He's also goes pretty much as hard as I do. He's not as people oriented. He's a military guy, so he's a little gruff. So on these lighter cases, like this little lady, I'm having to just stay at the truck because he's just very blunt and brutally honest, unfortunately. So with these kind of cases, you have to take a little bit softer approach. So, but he is going to be helping some as well. I mean, you guys, it's not in the budget for it, but you know, in the future, you may could even come up with a part-time, just somebody that can come trap. You about have full-time right now, but once you get the licensing, you will see it's going to be a lot in the beginning. It's going to be overwhelming for the ladies at City Hall because they already have enough on their plates. It's going to be a lot at the very beginning, but honestly, it will taper down and it will be worth it in the end. And you'll start seeing that. I think it's about 9 months turnover when I did City of Havelock, and we had military base people. And it was awful, but about 9 months turnaround. So, and it's a little bit bigger than this city, so I feel like you guys should start getting some reprieve, you know, over a couple months' time. That's about the only way I can suggest to control the population at this point, honestly.
Thank you.
Anyone else? How many more traps do you need?
I would say if we get 2 to 3 more, see how that goes. The first one I bought was $49.99 with a 2-pack, and then the other day I bought a different color one, and it was $10 cheaper. I don't know why, but I'll go with a different color and save $10.
Very good. Davidson County Medical Ministry Mobile Unit coming to Denton. Julie Andrade and Shawntae Lewis.
Good morning. Good evening.
This morning we're gonna start a little.
Thank you, Council. My name is Shawntae Lewis. I am the Area Practice Administrator for Davidson Medical Ministries, Kentucky Family Medicine. I'm not sure if you all are aware of what Davidson Medical Ministries and Kentucky Family Medicine does, so I'll just give a brief overview. We've been in Davidson County for approximately 30 years, and we started as a free and charitable clinic, and in 2012 we merged with a federally qualified health center so that our patients, when Medicaid expansion began discussed, we didn't want our patients who would become eligible for Medicaid or Medicare to have to leave their primary care physician. So that's how Kentucky Family Medicine was became included in that. In 2018, we received a grant to get a mobile medical unit on wheels so that we could start going to the more rural areas, because as everyone knows, transportation is a huge barrier for a lot of the patients, especially in the southern part of the county. So then COVID hit, and unfortunately there was a lot of delays that prevented our unit from getting here. But in June of this past year, it finally arrived. We have had to, over the last 4 to 6 months, work on fitting it with our specific EMR system, our IT connections, and just get it out in the community. And I am hoping that in March we will be able to get it out and about. We will be on Tuesdays at the Denton Library. So I just wanted to introduce myself and let you all know that there was a delay and we have received it. It had to go back to Greensboro just to get a little bit of a leak issue fixed, because with all the rain that we had, it ended up having some fittings that needed to be replaced. So we're hoping to be out and about soon. And do you have any questions for me?
So if residents want to utilize the services, do they need to call in advance to register? What do they need to do?
So that's a good question. So we will need appointments. We are not a same-day clinic, so it would just be like any other primary care office. The phone number right now is on the flyer that you have, and it goes directly to Julie Andrade, who's next to me. She's the driver. She's also going to be managing the unit. And right now she's already out and about in the community doing eligibility appointments. The way that our clinic works, if you have insurance, you just call and you get an appointment scheduled. If you do not have insurance, or let's say you're underinsured, you have one of the high deductible
plans, or you have Medicare and for some reason you get in the donut hole. We have a eligibility process where we put you on a sliding scale, and that's income based, and it goes very closely with the Medicaid FPL. And so we just do that beforehand just so that the patient knows where they fall in their tier. So.
And they do have to be a resident of Davidson County,
No.
correct? They do not.
No, we have patients, Contegra Family Medicine is in 12 different counties of the state. We have patients that come from Randolph, Guilford, Rowan, everywhere. So
Fantastic.
you don't even have to be, we have patients that still come to us from Virginia and South Carolina. One of our providers, Amanda Beasley, has been with our organization since before we did the FQHC merge, and she often jokes that, you know, we were still doing paper charting when she first came on board, and she liked to just go to the health department because most of her patients are, you know, she has a patient from Denton that walks 12 miles to the appointments to see her. 12 miles. Breaks my heart. But I mean, she's phenomenal. She breathes the mission of our clinic. If the patient needs to spend an hour talking about everything because they can't afford to pay another copay, she gives them an hour. She's just phenomenal. So we're blessed.
Have you seen a good response from all the advertisements and contacts?
So it's starting to pick up. Part of us not having a concrete date has been an issue, but we're at the college on Friday and we participated with a free medication giveaway event where we had about 500 to 600 people that came through the college. We've already got 2 patients signed up just from that event, and Julie's out at each of the sites. We'll be in Churchland, Denton, Southmont, and Silver Valley, and she is there with her phone number, so if people want to come and set up appointments. And she's already did 2 eligibilities, I believe.
So Tuesdays I will be here at the library, and I've got like 3 people coming tomorrow.
And a lot of our patients that we did a demographic survey of all of our patients that are seeing our providers now. So we tried to target the patients that lived in those areas to kind of offer them also services. As I mentioned, that patient who walks, you know, this is going to work out great as long as he's willing to change to a different provider, because we have different providers on every day. So.
But is the same provider like on Tuesdays?
Yes. Yes.
That
So
would be the same provider every Tuesday.
Yes. The provider that will be coming to Denton is Frank Everhart, and he's been a PA with us in our Thomasville location. So he's going to be there on Mondays and Tuesdays. No, it's not as exciting as rabies or cats. Is that
Any
it?
questions?
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here.
Looking forward to being in the community.
Review and approve the 2024 calendar of events.
You guys have been provided a copy of the events calendar, and it is a combination calendar for the Parks and Rec Board plus our community and town events. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer those for you on the events. Most of them are what we have seen in the past. We do have a few that are kind of in the process but have not been nailed down to a date that we're looking at through town hall. So the others pretty standard.
Angel, on pageant, how does that work? Is it a pay to win?
No, it's not a pay to win. So the pageant is there. It's a $25 registration fee for the girls, and then so each category has a queen in that category. But then whoever the ambassador is, so that title for ambassador is whoever has collected the most, either if it's canned goods or what they call good luck seeds from their family and friends, they go towards a point. So those points are added to their final overall score. And then whoever has that total is your ambassador. And then under that, you have a queen for age division groups. So you have one crown that's based on like collections of seed money for whatever we've done the Resource Center, Project Santa, backpack program for the Denton Elementary, and also for the middle and high school as well.
So how are the others picked? Judges? For
Yes, we have two.
beauty or talent?
They don't do a talent portion. It is, help me out, Elizabeth, if you will. It's based on their stage performance. Also, I think they do it used to be when it was under the Watermelon Festival, it was done based on points for costume, originality, stage presence. There's also a section on community involvement, like if they promoted the pageant itself, try to get other girls to be included in that pageant. It's a service pageant, so after the pageant's over, those that are crowned, they do community events for like Mount Vista. They also have collected items for Project Santa. They do canned goods for the Resource Center throughout the year, so it just depends on what the needs are. That's what they try to promote.
Well, since service is what they're focusing on, could it not just be a service project and not a pageant? Since we already have, there's so many queens already in Denton that it just kind of gets confusing with everybody walking around with a crown over their head.
Okay. We can definitely take that back to the Parks and Rec Board and let them know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where it's part of what they're doing. So we definitely can ask them if they could maybe revamp it, do it as a service project. I'm not sure how they would determine like involvement, I guess is what I don't know, but that could be determined.
I mean, I just think that if it was a service project instead of a pageant, it would open it up to, and I know they did have boy categories, I know that, but I just think that if it could be promoted where it was more just a service project, that it could become even larger and have more of an impact. Because actually when in my head, when the Watermelon Festival was done away with and we just went to one festival, I had envisioned that the Parks and Rec would take part of the festival that was being done by the town and they would do parts of it and the town staff would do parts so that it was more synergy and working together to end up with a bigger, better pageant because bigger, better festival. Because on the one of the things I loved about the Watermelon Festival were all the games that they had where they had kids involved. And I would love to see that become part of the festival that we have. And do fun stuff like that and not just a vendor festival, but involve the community. That was just my vision whenever we were consolidating down to one, to make that one bigger and better.
Again, what I can do is just present this back out to your Parks and Rec Board and let them know that to kind of give a consideration for something different on that. Maybe looking at, trying to think if you could do like a junior about citizen advisory project board, that somebody could volunteer to be a part of, that they wanted to reach out and, acting under the Parks and Rec advisement to do something like that.
I just think that if we could get together, we could make it even better. The town staff does a fantastic job, don't get me wrong. Parks and Rec, they did a fantastic job with Watermelon. But I think if they combined efforts, that we could take the festival to a whole different level. I'd love to see that.
I think I know that the town has been in charge of the street festival for many years since the chamber had it. I think they began that festival, and we inherit a lot over the years of projects that get started. But the Watermelon Festival was unique. people came because it was surrounded by the idea of a watermelon and having taste testing and things like that. So in order to incorporate the games and stuff into the town festival, it probably will take some creativity as to what to do and things like that. Last year, we did have a lot more planned, but of course the rain kind of put a damper on that. So we can.
And it's a very creative group.
It is. They are.
They're very creative.
You know, one thing about it though, you know, trying not, as we have done in the past couple years, is trying not to put too much on their plate, but them also having the Monster Mash and the cook-off 2 weeks later presents, you know, another challenge for them. So, but we definitely will give them this feedback, and I'll, if it's okay with the board, I'll just ask them to come to the meeting and you guys talk about it. So we'll have them come to the March meeting and we can see what other options could be made available, if that's okay with the board.
So I was gonna ask, cause I don't know.
Okay.
Was how many queens are they? Yeah.
So they do age divisions. So it's let me think. I think there's like the baby division. There's probably 5 if you look at it. This past year we didn't have a lot of we didn't have as many register because of the time of year that it is. The fall is a really heavy time for pageants. August doesn't seem to be, so I think that's why that was also a great time for people who are more involved in like the scholarship pageant. It gives them a stage presence. They can practice that, their walks and looks and dressing up type thing. But it just, the time of year is a little off in October for that. So they were averaging about 35 to 40 in August, and I think they had 12 this past year, or past October.
12 different categories?
No, 12 different entries. Yeah.
Did you get how many categories there?
I think that there's
a bunch.
It seems like there are, but it seems like there's maybe 5 or 6, and it depends on who registers. If there's not anybody in that age group, then there wouldn't be a queen, because they have opened it up.
Up to
they do through adults, because we did have I don't want to say the title wrong, but Susie Wallace was our sassy senior, I think is what it was called, but it was 50 and over, so I don't know how sassy a senior is at 50, but I'm a little bit sassy myself. But.
Tell you how long it is.
So, you know, they do try to involve everybody so that it is more of a community involvement. But yeah, we definitely can ask them to come and revisit that. So, you know, our Antiques Festival, of course, it runs the same time as the Threshers Reunion. And then this year is the, I just realized that we have the tractor ride that comes through town this year. And he's going to come and do a presentation on that. I know he talked to the chief the other day about it, but just what's involved. Medical ministry is the beneficiary this year, so that'll be another plus for that. And I think that's June the 29th, I believe is the dates on that.
I do think the chili cook-off was perceived better when people got to taste it.
Okay.
Just my personal opinion.
Okay.
You know.
All right. So taste testing was a plus.
Yeah.
July 1st, according to the report, I'm wrong. It's the track parade.
Okay, so July 1st. And Keith will be coming to just do a presentation on that and let you guys know what their plans are for everything.
Are they gonna stop in Denton like they usually do when they come through here?
They are. They're gonna use the impound lot again and do a meal.
You're gonna do the barbecue.
I'm not sure if they're doing the barbecue cook-off again or if they'll just have somebody provide a meal for the riders. Any other questions?
In August, back to school bash. I know there's some confusion last year, but I remember that the two Amy pastures
Yes.
wanted to take that over. I know the churches provided a lot of those backpacks.
They did.
And,
So the group, and Pastor Amy, I cannot think of her last name right at the moment, but we are working on having a better plan. There was a little bit of confusion as to what group was actually helping with that project, but they've been trying to meet periodically to get the plans in place. There is someone different in charge this year, so I think it'll be a little bit better, but it does come from the local churches. They do collect the items for the backpacks, and then they get together and pack them. So it's a lot of our churches centered in town, but then there's Linwood and Southmont and Silver Valley. It's really a South Davidson area that comes together in order to do that. Last year was 118 backpacks that were provided, and then there was about 30 left, and they took those to the schools for them to have in case the students needed them. So it was a really great event. We had a lot of people that night.
I know Chapel Hill does it. I didn't know they did it until I heard them talking about it.
Yeah, they do. So the thing is to try to get the word out as early as possible. And they're also wanting to do flyers to send out to the kids before they go home for the summer, so that they know we'll have this event and they can come get their school supplies. Anybody else?
I got one question.
Okay.
Have they thought about having like one outstanding fan?
We are still talking about that, Barbara, and we are
Like
still
two.
trying to work on that. We would love to do something that is, a lot of towns are doing like First Fridays or, I don't know what day. We'll just throw a First Friday out there, but something along that line so that we could do maybe May through September and doing something in the park for the adults. Parks and
It's
Rec.
something more than what we're doing now.
Yeah, Parks and Rec focuses more around the children, but if we can do something that can have a beach night or even bluegrass. I mean, there's a lot of people who are interested in that.
But nothing against the ones that's coming.
Right.
I'm sure they're coming for free, but
Right.
the only people's coming is them. They're not bringing anything.
The ones that go to Troy, like Too Much Sylvia and the Entertainers and
Band of Oz,
Band of Oz, and what's that?
Chocolate Chip.
Yeah.
I think they got
All
12.
them go to the local places around
Bunch of-
town.
I think they got 12 coming this year.
Some-
Troy.
We did check a couple years back about having bigger bands. Too Much Sylvia at that time was averaging about $2,500 for an event. So we really would need to look into maybe some corporate sponsorships, trying to come up with a structure for that. Like, asking, we hate to ask the businesses over and over again, but if we had an idea of what it's going to cost for the entire 5 months, if we were going to do it, then we could better reach out and say, would you be willing to sponsor this? Because Too Much Sylvia was about $2,500, and I don't think we reached out with Band of Oz. We might have, but there was one that was well over $3,000. So it can be quite costly, but it does bring a good crowd and it does get people downtown. The other thing that you have to think about, if you do a Saturday night event, the only restaurant downtown that's open right now is Elizabeth's, with the village being closed. So then it's trying to see if you could potentially get some food trucks that would come in, because that helps bring a crowd too.
The food trucks at Troy is like local barbecue places, and Michael, or whatever he goes
Michael
by.
Ward.
Yeah,
He's
with
down
his
there all
cotton
the
candy
time,
and
and
stuff.
you got him,
Yeah.
and you've got the wineries go down there, and you can.
And you do, and we do have it set up, by ordinance change last year that we could do, your beer gardens. The thing is that a lot of people would like to be able to have it inside the park, so then you got to figure out how to contain people within the park, because we don't have a social district. That is something a lot of towns are doing, but we have not. I mean, we only have one restaurant that serves alcohol, and then we have the bar on Peacock. So, we hadn't had the need to expand and have a social district at this time. Not to say that we wouldn't in sometime in the future, but being able to contain it within the park would be another way. We'd have to figure out how to do that. We did that.
Yellow fencing.
Yeah, we did that a little bit with the street festival, and it was just that front parking area. but due to the rain, they were late getting there, so I don't think the interest was as much. I did see some people participating, but it was not as much as what I feel like the trip board was looking for. So, okay. Any other suggestions or would like to see type event?
I wasn't sure how the combining all that stuff on Christmas on that Friday would work. It worked out very well.
Yeah, I thought it was a very nice event. Being able to enjoy the love light service before having the tree lighting and just the fun activities in the park. I thought it worked out really well.
The singing at the end was a little long. It lost interest of people, I thought.
Okay. I think that we had maybe 2 or 3 churches that came in together, so maybe focusing on one for one event and one for another might be a better option for that.
It just seemed like by the end it was really dwindling, okay. I thought.
We were peddling hot chocolate, I
exactly.
don't know.
Yeah, I had it all on my feet, so.
Yeah. So hot chocolate went over well, and the cookies too, so, okay.
In regards to approving this calendar, I think it would be a good idea to maybe just approve the Easter event for now until they can come and talk to us about this. What do y'all think? Sounds like we got several things we want to tweak.
Or maybe the first half of the year.
Yeah.
Approve the June, like Staley said.
Okay, so approve March through June. And then after speaking with the Parks and Rec Board, looking at the rest of it.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank y'all. I had one thing I want to ask you, and you included a flyer, more as the little flags for Memorial Day.
We're going to get to that. That's coming up.
Okay. I like that. Yeah. That's a good idea. Resolution to approve police department surplus.
Mayor, Commissioners, this is a request coming from your police department. And the weapon, it is a surplus of weapons, which would go through Craig's Firearms. We've used them in the past when we've had any type of surplus item. It is required that we sell them back to them. They give us credit, and then we're able to use that to buy what we need for our department. These are weapons that have been seized but never claimed. Am I stating that correctly, Chief?
Well,
In
these
all of
are
them?
actually department weapons that have exceeded their life, I guess, of reliability. And Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Ryan said they were 11 to 15 years of age, the older generation Glock pistols.
Gotcha. Okay. We were talking about some that had been seized that we had out there. Okay. So these are just some that have outlived their usefulness within the department. And if you guys approve that, we'll let the chief handle Craig's Firearms coming in and make those purchases for us.
I make a motion to proceed with disposal of this surplus property.
Second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Consideration of recognition for the late Stan Bingham, NC State, improved involuntary commitment. Transport plan, Police Chief Mike James.
I'm going to let Chief James handle this one. He's asked for us to review this and approve it for the county.
Very briefly, North Carolina Session Law 2018-33 states that the governing body of a city or county shall adopt a plan known as an involuntary commitment transportation agreement. In reviewing this document, when they sent it to me, I noted Thomasville, Lexington, and the county had one. So I did one that mirrored theirs, To make it legal, I just need your approval, and simply it says if we have a involuntary commitment in the town of Denton, then the Denton Police Department would transport that individual either to Lexington Medical Center or Thomasville Medical Center. No change in the practice that we've been doing for many years, just the statutory requirement that the local governing body or the county commissioners approve it in the case of the county.
I make a motion to approve the involuntary commitment transport claim.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Consideration of recognition of the late Stan Bingham, NC State Senator.
Some of you know, Senator Bingham was a citizen of the town of Denton for many years. He has owned businesses and has actually even provided a lot of benefit to the residents and the community. And with his passing was a great loss. Mayor Ward has reached out asking that we look at some type of recognition honoring the services that Senator Bingham provided to our community. And we've looked at several different options, and Mayor Ward, I'll let you, if you want to mention one that you've thought of, and then we can just kind of go from there.
There's several things you can do. You can put, under the max on there, you can put sign honoring Mr. Bingham for his service, such and such years. You could do a plaque in the park like you did for Hiram Ward. There's several things that can be done.
We'd also talked about possibly adopting a highway. We could do Salisbury. I did do some research on that. It does require a 2-mile stretch. So Salisbury, East Salisbury across 109 all the way to Greenbrier is only 1.25 miles. So we have to extend that out to the 2-mile range. But it is a 2-year commitment. They do put the signs up, and you can, there's 2 lines of wording that you could do in honor of that. And then, we just maintain that as adopting the highway. And it comes by his place of business that he owned for years, and would probably be a great representation of the work he's done. There was also mention of, we have Bingham Street here, maybe renaming it Stan Bingham Street, and the mayor talked to the postmaster, and he stated that there was not a lot that had to be done. It just has to go through them for approval in order to have that name changed. But we were just opening it up to the board for any recommendations that you guys might have on that.
Is this something the board would like to do?
I think maybe adopting a highway would be better than renaming the street.
Yeah. How far is it from the city limit sign on 109 between the 2 signs? That might be too much.
Going up North Main by his business, and then you end right there where you go by where he had his office, and then you end at his business. That's paper. You go all the way to.
So you're saying just do North Main?
If you went all the way North Main, I'm trying to think of the mileage.
All the way to 109.
That's 1.5 in it, all the way to the end, because that's the Tour de Cal route, or whatever. And if you went to the stop, if you went to the thing.
City limits.
Yeah. Won't that be 2? Works for me.
I put in a call to the person who's over the Davidson County Adopt a Highway, and she was out last week, so I'm waiting for her to give us a call back just to see if they would accept what our proposal is if it was less than that 2-mile range. So I'll let you know on that. I'll just let her know that we're highly interested in being able to do that, and whether it's North Main or whether it's Salisbury or another area, 109 perhaps, limit to limit, city limit to city limit. We could look at that as well.
When the 2 years ends, the commitment, the sign will still remain, or does the sign come down in 2 years?
The sign would stay as long, I think it would be a commitment that if we're going to make it as a town, we need to make it and honor it from now through the future. I don't think it's something that you want to do for just a 2-year.
Well, pick up the trash twice a year anyway.
We do, but it would just be a commitment that maybe even, a group takes that on as, A lot of people do that. They'll find an area that needs it or it has been adopted, and they take pride in taking care of that, especially if it's through our town.
Now, the kiosk, that's still his, isn't it, that belonged to the Beamers?
It is. It is actually part of that property where Denton Propane is, but it was given for use for the town many years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I will get more information on that and send that out to you guys. And but it is a 2-line, so it could be as simple as his name and service of the times that he was actually in office. Okay.
Consideration to update employee policy, exempt employee holiday leave.
Okay. Several times in the past year, maybe 2 years, we have talked about the holiday pay or the extensive hours that some of the salaried staff, department heads are actually having to put in. What I'm proposing and have given you a recommendation for tonight is that when department head is actually having to work a holiday, that they are compensated for the pay on that holiday. Now, there are options that you could choose to do just if they had to work during the listings of emergency, inclement weather, equipment failure, special town events, staffing shortage, or similar conditions to deliver town services. There are other towns that have reached out through our listserv to ask what some do, and some paid in addition to across the board. Some use this criteria, and that would entirely be up to the board. I did provide a rewrite on the policy if that is what you choose to do. In the case right now, Chief James is, had to work through the holidays, covering shifts, being short-staffed, and it hasn't changed much. We've had illnesses within the department as well, and under the policy, I am able to issue that pay. So for the past 2 holidays, for New Year's Day and also Martin Luther King Day, that he was paid for those 2 days because he was the only one on service. I did, if you look down in the policy copy that we provided, it is also that the non-emergency work on a holiday, it kind of incorporates into what's been a rewrite, so I did cross through that. It's not being necessary to repeat. And then the other thing that I've addressed in the memo is also that in talking about just the excessive hours, Mayor Ward and I talked, and he said, if you looked at a standard hour of maybe setting a standard hour of what you're looking for out of department heads, maybe anything over 45 hours could be compensated at hour for hour into a comp bank of 30 hours. And then they can use that, but it's not paid out time if they leave. It's just time that they can use for flex time, basically. So that's another option that came into us through the listserv. Questions, comments, concerns?
How does it affect other departments?
It would be the same thing as if any of those criteria meet. So any of those 6 that are listed, let's say it's the next holiday is Good Friday, and we have, Lord forbid, 4 inches of rain, and your sewer plant ORC is in, and your public works director is in. Then they would be compensated for working on that holiday as well.
Okay, what if Michael's at the water plant working as an operator?
Michael is being compensated for those hours he's working at the water plant.
So is he holiday pay, not holiday pay?
His holiday,
is he overtime, double time?
His holiday pay is considered just like ours is currently. So he has his salary for his public works director position. But when he's serving as an operator, he's being paid for the hours worked as an operator in addition to his salary.
As an independent contractor?
No, he's a staff member. It is an employee.
So is he getting paid double time?
He's getting paid by the hour for working as an operator at the water plant.
Is that legal?
Well, yeah, it would be.
He's already worked his 40 hours here, 50, whatever.
Right.
Now, I'm just using him for his existence, for example.
Right.
And he works 20, 30 down there.
Then
He's all under one umbrella.
It's two separate positions though. His public works director doesn't entail the work at the water plant. But it would not be advisable to work someone 40 or 50 hours at a water plant when that's not their full-time job and not compensate them for that.
I'm just making sure we're legal. That is my question.
I think we need to review that.
Okay. We can definitely do that.
Because if it's not as an independent contractor and it's still as an employee, I don't think you can assign an employee to a different position and not necessarily compensate overtime. So we need to look at that.
If he had 90 hours at the water plant, he would be paid 80 hours plus his overtime. So that would definitely be that. I understand what you're saying, but if that were the case, he would receive time and a half for those additional 10 hours for that. But we'll look at it. We'll definitely pull that out and look at it. But what this is if in the capacity of being a department head, that you're having, for example, Chief James is working 140 hours last 2 weeks, I think, maybe it was. And there's no extra compensation for that. 80 hours is what we require of our employees. But then you're putting an additional 60 hours on a department head at no additional compensation.
So what you're saying is because he's basically an exempt employee as a department head, but you're still compensating him as an hourly employee because that's outside of the purview of his exempt job description.
Correct.
Okay, I understand. There is a loophole for that. But I'll still look at it just to make sure.
It don't sound right.
I understand. Technically, as an exempt employee, you're just exempt. You don't get any additional compensation. But because he's doing things outside the purview as an exempt employee, you're getting compensated. But we still need to look at it to make sure everything's being done legal. So I understand the logic, but I still need to look at it to make sure that it's okay.
And Chief James too needs to get some kind of compensation because we didn't hire him to work.
And that's what,
forever.
We've experienced this with our former police chief. Our other department heads, water, sewer, public works, Paula with meetings like this, there's a lot of time that's invested in that, but, we don't want to burn them out and we don't want to take advantage of that as well. So that's why we were looking at doing something. We just need something in writing so that if it comes to this, this is what we know we can do. Instead of having to come back every 6-8 months to revisit it again.
Yeah, because some employees get that comp time.
Right.
Where they can't, under their current situation.
Under the current situation, yeah, it would not be. Or even flex time, with salary, you have that option, if you got to go to a doctor's appointment, you go to a doctor's appointment. You come back, you get your shift done, your job done, whatever is needed. But, when you're short-staffed, it's just not that simple. You can't just leave. You've got to be there. So, but in order to have something so that we as in the office know that, okay, when this takes place, this is what we're going to do moving forward, instead of having to come before you and ask, are we going to do a bonus out? Are we going to do payout? What are we going to do?
This needs to be standard.
Yeah.
Right, standard across the board for everybody.
I agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's fairly simple that you can understand it.
Yeah. So, the way that I have it written is that you would pay if they work in these 6 scenarios, or the other option would be that the holidays are in addition to their salary. I don't know which way the board is leaning more towards looking at that.
Just so I have it in my brain. So right now, the fact that Chief James has worked 140 hours that would fall under the emergencies
So
category.
that would, what we're looking at right now is under the
Or
holiday.
staffing
This
shortage.
is just for holidays. Now,
Okay.
in looking at in general with the pay, there's not anything in policy that says we're short-staffed, so we're gonna pay you by the hour for your work as that department head or the additional hours. It's just part of that umbrella of being a salary staff employee. But the compensation of the holiday pay, Christmas, Thanksgiving, would be a benefit too for them.
So if we do an average of hours, we need to look at this, and that's something separate.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
But do they get paid anyway? I mean, do they get holiday pay? And if they're working, they get,
So for salary staff, it is just salary. Like Paula and I are not expected to work on a holiday.
Right.
Now there are some Memorial Day, Labor Day sometime, not Labor Day, but 4th of July that we may be here for festivals. But we're not expected to work. Normally, other department heads are not, but because of short staffing right now, or because of these 6 issues, there could be that possibility that someone would need to work. And it's not,
yeah.
yeah.
That's my.
Currently, if, your salary is holiday included, it's not in addition to.
Right.
So,
And that's what we're saying here. Do we want to pay them
in
for
addition,
working that holiday?
Right.
If they have to
in
have
addition
them
to their
in addition
salary.
to their salary, which they would get either way.
right.
How do you do that? Do you take 40 hours and divide it to their pay?
Well,
and come
you
up with an
actually-
average rate?
To get their hourly rate, you have to actually multiply it out for the year and then divide it out by how many hours the department works. So that's how you come up with their rate of pay. But it's possible, and it's not a hard process, but we can do it. And it would be on a separate line item. It shows as like an alternate pay, or if we approve this, we could do it as holiday pay so that we know that is what we're paying for, and we can track that better through payroll system.
Or approve the holiday pay?
we're waiting on a motion.
I will make a motion that we would approve the holiday pay.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on this item? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, great.
Do you want me to still invest in time looking at the other, like the time that currently we're where we've got emergency due to short staffing? And
Absolutely, I think so.
Yeah, we can do what's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Approve ordinance amendment to add chronic violator for code enforcement regulations.
In talking with our code enforcement officers with Alliance Code Enforcement, one of the issues that we have in town are chronic violators. And what I mean by that is we have people who are constantly not mowing their yard, or they constantly have junk piles or junk cars, and they may abate, meaning that they've taken care of whatever that initial letter is out to them. So if it's mowing a yard, they mow the yard, and 3 or 4 weeks later, the yard needs mowed again, and they have to start the process all over. So then it's another 15 days with the letter, and then it's another process of a hearing, and then it finally is abated, either for them or for us to do it. So it takes a long time to go through a process. With this, at the beginning of the year, they would mail out a letter to those who fall under this chronic violator if they have a history of always being under violation for whatever reason. They let them know that they have received their letter stating this is what your violations have been, and that when this comes up, we are going to automatically abate it and either we will send an invoice to them, but then we usually end up putting a lien on the property. Brandon Emery said that he's done this in a lot of towns, and it seems to help them with being able to continue moving forward. The situation that we have in Clark Acres is a prime example of that. The house was cited for overgrown lot and junk piles. It was cleaned and mowed. It was cleaned, it was mowed, and it's worse than it was when we first started with the property. So it looks like there's not been much accomplished in the past year, but we've gone through steps. Well, I can only answer for the last couple, but it is a constant violation and is still. So it would be something that they could have moved this process continually instead of having it have to stop and wait to make the proper procedures. So.
My only question about this is why do we have to wait to the beginning of the calendar year? Why couldn't it automatically be triggered once they hit their 3 times?
I think that is exactly how it should be. That once you hit that 3 times with the violations, that then you are then triggered that you're a chronic violator.
I mean, because if you violated in, say, January, February, March, and then you have to wait a whole another year before they can ever, fall under that. I just think it should be once they hit that three times, it just triggers that process.
Now, surely that person has already hit 3 plus much more.
Well, that property is under several violations. There's a lot of stuff that's going on there. And it's been cited and posted, so they're at that phase of the next step. Since I've been here, we've had one other property that we had to go in and board up and take those steps to do. It's under minimal housing, it's under junk piles, it's under junk cars. Soon with the growing season, it'll be under unkept, overgrown lots. So 3 letters triggers it. Is it 3 letters? Like, let's say I get a letter this year, but then I don't get another letter for 2 more years. And then the next year I get one.
Under the statute, it's supposed to be 3 in a calendar year.
Okay.
But if you've gotten 3 in a calendar year, you can give notice that calendar year that you're a chronic violator, and then the following calendar year, you just have to send out the letter saying, because you were a chronic violator last year, it still applies for this year.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
Because that's not the way this reads now, right?
It's not clear. That's the way it's supposed to read, but it's
Okay.
not clear. They're not, the intent is not for it to say that they have to wait until the next calendar year to become a chronic violator.
Okay.
It's attempting to say, you already were a chronic violator, and now we don't have to jump through all these hoops the next year too. We're just keeping you listed as a chronic violator. So
As long as it's sent immediately and then followed up with the following year, I'm fine with that.
That's
just
just
not
not
clear.
this thing anyway. This house has been that way since John Gray was here.
Yeah.
My grass gets a little high and I get a damn letter. This has been going on forever and it looks
Well,
awful.
with John Gray here, it was pigs living in the
If
backyard.
it ain't
before
to
he
help
built
the
the house.
welfare of the people, have you seen this house? I can show you pictures right now.
Oh, jeez. So you basically, I would just modify this to make it clearer.
Okay.
And so if you want to approve it with the modification that immediately after 3, it becomes a chronic violator and then continues to be notified as chronic violator the following year.
That's today.
And this house was abated by the town. We had a company, Bio One, come in and clean all of that up. But within 2 weeks
Or less.
it was back. We've spent right at $4,000 on this property, having it mowed or cleaned up. We do.
We did.
We have 3, I think. I think
So-
it is for mowing and
So the next step is then to foreclose the liens. And if you wanna pursue foreclosing the liens, I can get you information on that. And if you foreclose the liens, then it potentially gets them out of the house. And
They are in the process, from what they have told Chief James, of moving out. The other issue with this property is that the house is still in another family member's name who are both deceased.
Is that the one I did the title work on? It was in the estate's name?
I think so.
Yeah, she had me do the title because we were looking at potentially foreclosing.
Just foreclosing.
So it's,
Yeah.
and it still has, from what I understand from just conversation, there's a mortgage still on the home through the deceased relatives. So they're looking at really they're looking at abandoning the property is what I can tell by the comments that they've made. So I did ask Brandon Emery with ACE, what is our procedure at that point? And he said that as soon as we know that that's what they've done, then, they'll follow through and, like she said, do a foreclosure on loans.
Anybody there now, Chief?
They tell me they're living in Ashburn. I did see her there and talked to her the other day. And then, of course, animal control's been involved. They give up 3 of the 4 dogs. And the small dog continues to stay there. I think animal control is gonna make a cruelty charge because of the condition of the home. So,
And being there without somebody else.
Well, I think, from what I think with Officer Souls, I think she may have rehomed that one dog, and she told her if they were caught with another animal inside the home, that they would then at that point be charged. I believe is where they are on that. So they're, it's a really bad condition. And I know the neighbors they're blowing our phones up, so I know they are you too.
Yep.
Okay, so if you want to make the approval of this chronic violator with the change to state that after 3 letters, that would trigger them to be a chronic violator for the next year. Immediately
and
and
continuing for the next year.
Absolutely. I make a motion for that.
I second that. Is that changed?
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I think we want to proceed with foreclosure too.
I will pull that information together and send you guys a message about that.
Mr. Mayor, let me make a motion to that so we know it's on record. I make a motion to proceed with foreclosure in this house in Park Acres.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Approve quote and budget amendment for water treatment plant pump number 3.
All right, so many of you know we have 3 service pumps at the water plant, and 2 are low flow, 1 is a higher flow. This is to rebuild that pump, and I'll probably pull Michael in because he talks more technical than I do on this stuff, but Russell Underwood has provided a quote in order for us to be able to rebuild the high service pump number 3. In looking at what we currently have, we have explored possibly taking them all 3 to the same just regular service pumps, and his recommendation is to keep and maintain this 3rd high pressure pump. You can alternate using it with the 1 and 3 could run together, 2 and 3 could run together, or 3 could run alone. It gives us better options to be able to push more water to town. And we currently are experiencing a lot of demand on the system, and so this would absolutely help us, especially during the high period of time during the summer, to be able to provide the much needed water to town through the system. It is total cost is $45,499.88, and this would be an invoice that would be half paid by Handy by contract.
I noticed the date on this is November 28th, and it said the price was good 30 days.
It's still good. We talked to him last week. We've
Just wanted to
been
make sure.
kind of kicking back and forth whether this is what we wanted to do or if we wanted to go back to like just 3 of the same. But after Michael and I were talking with Russell, and he still recommends that we put this high service pump in. It gives us more option to have this high service pump.
If we use it, I mean, we used it in 40 years.
It has not been used in a long time.
And it's
Like,
been redone, changed to variable speed when we did the plant.
It wasn't done right.
that's what we ended up with. It was not done correctly. So I honestly don't know when the last time was that the pump was in use. It's been that long.
But you think it will
It's
help?
Andy left, I think.
Oh, exactly the last time we talked about it.
And what-
Water turned on and we had 5 water leaks and Andy had 9.
So it's been still quite a while.
Few years.
It's been quite a while. Like I said, it will, it will provide the plant with better options to be able to, in those higher demand times that we can do that. Right now, it seems to be high demand all the time.
We don't have to make it.
We should.
We gonna let it sit down there and
Yeah.
rot then?
Yeah. That's
Stick
what I'm
up?
saying.
I think if the board approves this, that there needs to be a plan that it is used in service.
There was a plan 40 years ago. It's been brought up 100 times. Did you use the big pump? Have you turned on the big pump?
I know, I've heard the board in general ask this question, and it just has to be put in service. I mean, if we're gonna spend $46,000, there has to be a service plan. There has to be we're gonna run it so many hours per week or so many hours per day, in order to get the service out of that we require. But Commissioner Morris, I know I've heard everybody ask this same question over and over.
Just a modification that we're gonna do possibly. Does that tone that pump down? I know, what's it, 200, it's 250 horsepower, right?
Do you know right off?
You can tone it down or you can turn it up. If you're not gonna be able to turn it up so far, you're gonna blow the lines out.
So it's gonna be a real variable pump then?
Yep.
Okay.
The pump will never reach its true potential because we don't have the water lines in the ground for it to reach its true potential.
So can a plan be written to,
How are we
say,
gonna
we
know?
approve this, how do we know it's gonna be?
So the SCADA system is supposed to be finished Thursday. The gentleman's supposed to be out finishing it. And once that's installed completely, then definitely it can be, a procedure of, making sure that they're running like we have 3 pumps. We have 2 that work. So once this one's put back into place, is that, you're running 1 and 3 today, or 2 and 3, or 1 and 2, or 3 alone. So that way they're in a constant cycle and they're not just sitting and becoming stagnant and not working when you do need them to work.
So SCADA will help us utilize this.
Right.
Do we have an extra pump for the other 2 like we used to carry?
We don't have any extra pumps right now. That's why we had talked to.
Why do we not have any extra pumps?
There are no extra pumps there.
We have
It didn't answer my question. though.
We have extra pumps for this.
They just don't fit what we have.
Well,
We used to always keep extra pumps.
we don't have them.
For some reason, there's 4 extra pumps down there, they don't fit the same one we have.
They don't. What's there is not what we currently run.
But
So,
Russell's gonna try to flip them for us and get us something we can use.
that's why this one is vital to have that extra pump in place.
I make a motion that we approve the budget, or approve this high service pump, so we can put it into use.
And would you also state
And
with
the budget
the,
amendment
thank you.
along with it.
I'll second it.
I don't
You-
think
you
we're no
further
better off
discussion?
than we was before if we don't use it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any further discussion at this time on this item? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed?
No.
That motion carries.
Why would we not use it? I mean,
Why-
that's what
why
I'm
have you used
asking.
it
Like,
for?
why would
What's the
we not
reason
use
it's
it?
not ever?
The easiest thing to do here,
Some operator ain't gonna like it, they're gonna think it's not something right, or something's gonna take more time or something.
the easiest thing to do with this deal, being it has a VFD installed on it, you can run this pump from a 20 horsepower pump to a 100 horsepower pump, 150, whatever it is. Go into VFD, set the pump
to the same as the other two pumps. Then if an operator reaches over and clicks number 3, it's gonna pump the same gallons a minute, number 1 and 2 pumps. It's gonna be the same pump they're used to running. It's not gonna skewer them to death, they're gonna blow a water line out of the drain. If you have to pump more water, you can go downstairs, turn the VFD up. But we need to put some pressure gauges in on, so we know how much pressure we actually push. But if it was me, I'd set the VFD just same as the other 2 pumps and let it run. Then you're running 3 pumps.
How much is the extra pump for the other two?
Well, you'd have to change, I don't know,
I mean, just an extra pump, or motor.
Them things is going out of sight. But like I say, Russell is gonna send his guy up. They're gonna take photos of the data plates on them. He's gonna see where he can move them to and what he's got. And he said if he has something in his inventory that'll match what we have, pretty much he'll swap it out with us. Because he works at so many water plants, he can use them motor somewhere else. Because all of them rebuilt, all of them brand new, they're still wrapped in plastic.
Will we know, will we be updated when he does that?
Do what?
Whenever he does what you say he can do, that easy it gets flipped, how can we know the process of what's going on when it's being used? That it's being done that way, like you say, like you make it sound so.
Well, it's easy to do. We get the skate put in, it's just a touch screen.
Yeah.
And then go down on the VFD and lock it out where an operator can't change it.
Yeah.
Only the ORC can change it. Because they don't need to be playing with this thing. I'm telling you, blow every water line we got in the ground out with this phone. Put it where the other 2 are and leave it alone.
But we need that kind of pressure, don't we, to get
Well, when I get to
something like
my,
that?
when I get to my report for the water plant, there's a couple things we gotta go over about this water pressure.
Anything else? On the fund. Town department head reports. Police department, Chief James.
Thankfully, a lot of these have already been covered. I did meet with Tim Laughlin, and soon we're revising the parade permit. We will get that done. He did say that lunch will be at Tractor Supply, and the tractors will go into Browse propane and circle around. So soon, and he told me the route. I didn't bring that with me. I won't get into that. All of our police vehicles, except the Tahoe I drive now, have decals on them. Officer Kashif is still in field training. We did Friday just get the certification back for Officer Myers. Captain Shear has been under the weather for a little over a week. So tomorrow I'll be training 2 of them, but we're diligently striving to, I've never trained 2 at one time, so we're gonna have a car full. But the goal is to get them out and get them on their own as quick as we can. We did pull him for a week and send him to radar school because I thought that was important that we soon have speed enforcement. Since I don't have anybody certified, and I don't think I've even broke the news to the manager yet, we're going to have to pay probably a Thomasville officer off duty to do the 12 hours field training. Once he does that, we send the SMI forms to Raleigh. We get his certification back. So hopefully we'll have his certification about the time he gets out of field training, and we will have an officer equipped to operate speed, time, and equipment here. I extended an offer conditional employment to a Kernersville officer, former officer. I learned that he accepted a position with another agency, which we're saddened by that. I've noticed in listening to the radio in the morning and learned by talking to Chief Hicks that we're the only agency in the county that is not paid to direct traffic. Civil deputies do it at other schools, and even county schools in the city of Thomasville, they're paid off duty to work traffic. I would at least, with everybody's permission, find out why Denton is not paid, see if we can get paid, and then there would be logistics to work out in the event they said, yes, we can do that. I think the county, that money comes to the county, and then in turn they pay the deputies. So there would be some things to work out But it seems unfair to me that all these years Denton has done it for free and we've not been compensated by the school board that everyone else has. I believe in it. I've done it since August, and I think it's important. It's a great community relations and a good tool. And I can tell you those little children crossing the street and even the teachers in the morning, somebody needs to be there. You've either got fog, blinding sunlight, or people that are driving too fast on some occasion. So with your permission and the manager's permission, we'll try to look into that and see what I can find out. In the event, they said, well, yeah, we'll put a civil deputy there. I would say it's more important for a Denton officer to be there because I think we get to know the people. We ended up breaking the door on the house because we suspected an overdose inside the home. I would not have known to do that had I not recognized that vehicle that morning, saw it come through the school, saw them drop the kid off, and saw that same truck sitting at the house. So I knew they were in the home because of that, so it turned out to be pretty important. And that's all I have. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Well, I appreciate you at the crosswalk.
I enjoy it. I've got a little buddy that hugs me every day, and that's the highlight of my day. And he brought me a Christmas present, and it was a coffee mug, and he brought tears to my eyes. But that's the good thing of my day there.
Yeah.
Makes it all worthwhile.
Well, there's been one there from my growing up. I mean, there's always been one there. And that's nice.
Right.
I guess right now, Chief, you're the lone soldier here.
I am, and I'm on call 24 hours a day. And strangely enough, I got a call at 1 o'clock the other morning to go to Bombay Park. The neighbor couldn't sleep because the swings were squeaking. Well, I get up, get dressed, I go out there, and guess what? She's gone. But I've learned today where I think she lives on Dot Street. So I'm going to visit her and say, hey, please don't swing at 1 o'clock in the morning. You're bothering your neighbors. Better to have that kind of call than something a lot more serious, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Wastewater treatment plant, Blue Branch.
So you have copies of my topics. Okay, great. I have completed the annual wastewater report. It's now posted on the town's website, and availability of the report was put in the newspaper, as well as a copy was posted on the bulletin board at town hall meeting the state requirements. We've completed the pre-treatment annual report and submitted it to the state. I did submit a letter to the state requesting that we be placed on inactive status since our one and only high water user industry is gone. I am currently working on the annual water report, also known as the Consumer Confidence Report. Our information is due to Handy no later than March 15th. Shouldn't be a problem meeting that. And the report is due to the public no later than June 1st. I have completed the local water supply plan. This is always my biggest report due every year because this tells us what our unaccounted for water is. And again, I think we've done very well. Our unaccounted for water was 7% this year, which the state doesn't get involved until you reach 15%. So we're doing really well. But also keep in mind that 7% is 112,000 gallons a day. That's just missing. So that's coming from errors, meter errors, and water leaks. But it's still great. Let's see, the local water supply plan is due to the state by April 1st. I actually submitted it today. We did report a sanitary sewer overflow on January 10th. The spill was reported to the state and the sites were cleaned up and disinfected again. It came from I&I. We had that was during that 4-inch rain. We just couldn't hold it all. The reports were posted on the website, our local newspaper, and the Stanley News and Press, which covers the population downstream of us. We have received the new drive unit for clarifier number 4. and Mike and the crew are installing it tomorrow. We had to get some other repairs done on it before they could come and do their work. We are flushing fire hydrants this week because we will be collecting our quarterly trihalomethane and HAA5 samples in the water system, and we'll be collecting those on Thursday. We did have an electrical issue down at the plant that had us stumped, and Mike and the electrician were able to figure it out, and the whole thing was because of a bad breaker. I mean, who would have thought? But anyway, they got it figured out. And I completed the Tier 2 report for 2023 last week. For those of you that don't know, a Tier 2 report is a report the EPA uses to track and enforce rules related to the storing of hazardous materials. And David, my coworker, he begins grade 2 school in March. He did pass his grade 1. I think I went over that last month, but he does start grade 2 school in March. That's about it. Is there any questions?
What about your bar screen, Troy?
I have not heard anything yet, Commissioner.
Seen anything out of the engineers or anything?
No, sir. Not yet.
Okay.
The rainfall for last year,
55.85 inches.
is that up or down?
It was up 9 inches from the previous year. We treated 3 million gallons more this year than we did last year. Anything else, Mayor?
I can't think of anything.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Public Works and Water Plant, Michael Wright.
Well, on the public works side, we got through leaves and all that. Weather's warming up. Finally stopped raining. We're gonna get back on our project for the water plant and the wastewater plant. Got meters coming up and our usual everyday work. And that's about it for us.
Taking them Christmas lights.
Well, we got 2 more they didn't get. They'll get them. Water plant, the pump, we've done a critical assessment of what was down there. We had to purchase a few chemical feed pumps. They come in. SCADA should, most of it be done this week. That'll give us a little bit better control over what's actually going on in the plant. The big pump, like I say, the VFD, I just set it on the old one and leave it alone unless we need it. But I got a feeling we're going to need it. Because I've been graphing Handy's water usage. I've been calling Jay and Justin, asking them if they have leaks. No.
Obviously, they don't know.
A week later, oh, had a leak. Oh, did you see Handy down on 49 fixing a leak? I don't understand why they just won't come clean. I can see it as plain as day. I'm looking at their SCADA system. Takes 4 hours to fill a tank. It takes 9 hours to fill a tank. There's a leak. Well, now, they put in I found this out the other day. They didn't tell us, but they put a booster pump in on 109 to maintain 60 pound of pressure between Byron and 49. So now anything that leaks between Byron and 49, that pump will not shut off. It will steady pump from Byron and the drugstore tank to keep their system up to 60 pounds. Which, since that tank went online, it's dropped our townwide system pressure 5 to 7 more pounds. Because we're going to have to go to 24/7. Because I went in twice this week already for low water alarms on water tanks. I mean, 3 hours after the plant gets shut down, everybody goes home. Low water alarm. Because them pumps don't stop pumping, they're steady pumping. There's not enough water volume from what they're pumping out of to fill up what they're trying to fill. If that makes any sense, because it don't cut off. And I wish they would kind of give us a heads up. I don't understand how they can do that without letting us know. Because like I say, you're fixing to staff that plant 24/7. They just not going to be any way around it. Or at least 20 hours a day, 2 10-hour shifts.
Have you asked them up there about that? I mean, like why?
Michael just told me today that he found out about the pump being on
Yep.
Byron, so, you know, the next step is to have that conversation.
But it's not Byron's at your
I
house.
mean, well, there's a pump station there just before the cook's house. I know you guys have passed it, but right at my house. I told Michael I've not seen any pressure differences. It's it's just
Yep.
really 2 houses up from me. But, you know, that is something that they, you know, said they were going to put in place, but they didn't tell us or give us specifics or say that they were keeping 60 pounds of pressure online. The situation that we had earlier this month, or last month, it's February now, where there was a leak at 10949 and Michael and the crew are trying to say there's something going on. Andy's crew's saying there's not, but we're definitely seeing water's leaving that tank. It's going somewhere. It's sending summertime water to a tank, and it's winter.
We're in the summertime now.
So there's definitely that issue. So in the conversation we had earlier, we need to have that conversation with Andy. And I think it could possibly be looking at the contract and seeing, you know, why they're not required to give us their standards when they're doing any kind of upgrade like that. And
Well, my point is this. I know that contract's there and it's not what it ought to be, but the town is getting nothing out of this. I mean, absolutely nothing. It's actually costing y'all money. Everything that's done at that water plant is to benefit Handy Water. We don't need no more water. We can make all the water we ever need. Handy, their projected building and all, and their projected water increase and all that. You're going to put another filter on that plant, and it's not going to be that long. You're going to staff another 2 employees at that plant. It's not going to be for Denton. It's going to be for Handy Water, and Handy Water only. I don't know if y'all can make them absorb that cost, but it's not for us at all. You're going to pay 50% of it for 100% for them. And I think y'all, this board and their board need to, y'all have to get that worked out because it's going to get expensive. And like I say, it don't benefit us at all. We can make all the water we ever need. But that's between y'all's board and their board. But it's just, and Thomas Rawls, he was operator at Denton Water Plant. He's coming back to work for us. He went to the drug test today. He's got to get his license reinstated. That's really going to help. Get Cody to sit for his exam next month. Hopefully he passes it. That'll help.
How many hours a week are you working at the water plant?
It depends.
I don't know. Give me a just, round figure.
It really does. It depends. This week I've worked I can't work but 19 or 20 this week.
This week so far, next Monday.
Came in last week.
Well, in the 2-week pay period.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
In the 2-week pay period.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look at my time sheet. But anyway, got a guy coming Friday to do a filter assessment, see how bad the median the filters are. Got a guy coming probably end of this week, first next week to give us a quote on a pipe system to go on top of the basin. You can either get plate settlers or pipe settlers. What that does, it stops all the turbidity. Cold water don't settle dirt. Goes right over into the trough, into the filter. You run 9 hours, you got a wash filter. We looked in these plate settlers. They put them in at our sister plant. It's built off the drawings ours is. They went from 12, 15 hour filter run times to 130, 40 hour filter run times.
Which is a huge benefit.
Which is a huge benefit. You can make a whole lot more water. because you're wasting a whole lot of water backwashing filters, time and water.
Which
So,
goes into the water loss.
yeah, goes into the water loss. So trying to get them down here to give me a quote on it. And, I mean, later in life, we're gonna have to upgrade a few more things down there, especially if Handy's growth keeps going, but other than that, things is actually kind of picking up a little bit. Get some help back down there, and that'll help a lot.
Do we have ORC? We have one in pipeline. Do we ever gonna get one?
Well, that's another discussion.
That's the reason I asked you.
Commissioner Morris, if you'll allow me to use that for a closed session, I need to talk to you guys in closed session about that. So.
But he's the one we had, he's on the verge of state.
Yeah, we, that close.
I'm pushing him.
Yeah.
We can fix a few more little things he wants fixed. Got it.
He's talking about Jason Bowes, possibly having Jason. He's a great operator, a great ORC, but his health conditions really warranted him not being able to do what needed to be done.
That's it, yeah. I could get all this back, but we gotta put the elevator in.
Is Thomas a B or a C?
He's set for his B school, but he never set for his B exam. So he's a C operator, but he's already been through his B school. So I have talked to the state, petition him to get his license back, because it's been right at 2 years. If he'd have had continuing ed for 2023, they'd have just handed him back to him. But since he only had continuing ed in 2022, February 2022, 2 years is their line. The board's got to make a decision 2 years or more.
So Ms. Rawls is going to send in a letter requesting that he'd like to be reinstated, his reasons for leaving and not having the continuing ed. And then I'm also going to send a letter from the town, just giving them a little heads up on what we're experiencing with shortage of operators and the need to have someone who has that experience there. Maybe give a little bit more weight to his letter as well. But Michael reached out today to get the contact person for the board so we can petition them for that.
Yeah, everything else is going pretty good down there. Any questions? Anybody need a part-time job?
Thanks, Mark. Who wants to do the fire department?
So Brandon had Selden come in to meet him at the fire department tonight, but he has provided you guys with a written report, and he said he didn't make it, just know that's where he was tonight.
Administration, Paul Hader.
So everyone met Haley Gray earlier, and didn't realize we were going to do that, but I had added it to my monthly report. Just wanted to thank her for, what she has done to add some beauty to the town. And we did add our literacy bookcase to the informational booth. So we've taken away a couple of the ones that were kind of shackly, and we've got one in the information booth now. So it's kind of one of those take one, leave one situations. The trash receptacles, I reached out. The replacements are scheduled to ship February 15th, so that's good. During the last storm that we had, it took out the Denton sign at the top of Red Hill, so I'll probably be starting to look into that a little bit further. I had looked into it for a little bit, but the price was kind of, hit me upside the head, like, wow, that didn't expect it to be that much. So with this being down and not repairable, I'm going to start looking into that again. I have an appointment tomorrow with a rock layer to hopefully we can get a good price range on laying the rock there at the community market. Elizabeth's continuing to work on the slam dot, so that is a big project, and she is going through a fine-tooth comb to make sure that the stuff that's pushed through is correct, weed out stuff that's not necessary, and so forth. So She does work on that many times during the week. The mural, I did receive an initial drawing from that gentleman. It was kind of bold, a little more than possibly what we would want to do, so I've asked for a second drawing. I will present both once I have those available. And we are working towards the artisan market. Hopefully we can get everything outlined and pushed out to everyone. Maybe for our first holding being on March the 28th, and then running the market from April to either September or October. Also, for a Memorial Day, Elizabeth's done a nice flyer. I'm going to let her speak on this, if you don't mind.
Just take a few minutes. Good evening, everyone. Okay, so in front of you, you've got some images. We're reaching down into the dream folder. Something we've wanted to do for several years now, but involving the community to do custom orders to honor their military heroes. So it can be an active service member, a veteran, doesn't have to necessarily be a Denton citizen, but just something that our community can celebrate active service and veterans. Our plan is, well, the cost is $30 for this custom flag. That's not including the hardware to hang it, and also we're looking at solar lanterns. So we've looked at some bargain things, bargain equipment, and to get a good fair price. We do not know exactly what we would charge the citizens. We have talked to an AMVETS director, I guess, Chris, and he's looking into supplying or being a sponsor for the project. So we're going to wait until approximately mid-February. He's going to get back with us about a figure that we've shown him what we're looking at doing. We're going to open and do a online order form, so that way if folks can't come into town hall to place the order, they can do it online. But actually have the citizens pay part of it, but it is going to be in the town's collection. It is going to be property of the town. Therefore, the town is responsible for putting them out and taking them up and storing them properly. The plan is to put them out Memorial Day and Veterans Day, possibly Friday through Monday. Do a short time, number one, keep them out of the weather, make them last as long as we can, but also create just a couple days so folks will want to come downtown, view them in Harrison Park around the edges. We'll figure those details once we see how many we can get from citizen interest. So any questions on that?
If they are paying part, but then the town is keeping it, and they want a duplicate flag.
Right, they can order one, yes.
I see that says that they can, but did they get that at a lesser price since they are helping the town? Okay.
They are $30. That's our cost. That's at a 25 piece price break. So I'm hoping we go more than 25 flags and we can get them even cheaper. And of course we'll pass that along to citizens. But yeah, it's $30 just for the flag, and you can tell in that photograph it's a vinyl flag. It's it's not a fabric flag. It's vinyl.
So we need from us to go ahead.
Just information. Yeah, that we're gonna, once we get info from the AMVETS, how much they would like to support, what kind of figures we're looking at, then we got to get this thing on order because it takes a couple weeks being a custom order. So yeah, I'm going ahead and getting everything ready to go.
Get all the pictures.
They'll upload, right? We'll have a paper form and an online form that instructs them how to get the photographs here. Mm-hmm. They can upload them by email, or they can come in and we can scan them. Our copier in the office is good, and we also have a desktop scanner that I think we will do very well with.
Very good.
So they don't have to pay for the metal either, just for the flag.
If they want a duplicate, yes, but we do need citizens to help us with that cost. So
the metal.
It depends on. We're pretty much out the door at $40 a piece. That's with the lantern, the metal, the garden flag holder, and the flag itself. So it just depends on what the AMVETS and
Memorial Day we have 20, 25 crosses out in the park, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And still continue to do that.
Okay.
Now,
We
who puts
verified
them
that
out?
with
Does Chris put them out?
Chris
Dan Betts?
with Dan Betts, yeah. We told him absolutely, we still want that.
Yeah.
This is in addition to.
We're also going to push out that if anybody would like to be a sponsor of this, to make a donation towards paying for the cost of the hardware, they could absolutely do that. If they didn't have anybody they wanted to honor through the flag, if
But they wanted to
give
get
a
to the
contribution,
project, and if this is something we continue, hopefully for years, as long as they last, the flag stakes will eventually give out. The lanterns will, we'll need to replace those. So there's some cost
And
in
the flag,
the hardware, but
the flag, the thing,
yes, the holder, yes.
it's $10. Is that what you're saying,
Well,
around figures?
No, between the lantern, the solar lantern, we found some about $5 a piece, and the flag holder $2.50, $3.
We're buying in bulk.
Buying in bulk. Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's
Buying
the
the
town
holders in
pays for that, and then you get them to pay for the flag?
We can,
So we'll just have to, once we know how many we need, we'll come back and ask for that to be covered through budget. Okay, if that's okay with the board.
but I'm putting out to the citizens, this is for the permanent collection, trying to be very clear that they don't get to take, don't take it from the collection. It's going to stay in the collection, but it's our responsibility to upkeep them and display them properly.
That might kick it off the ground a little if we pay for the hardware.
So just promote it out at $30.
We get a decent light or don't get one at all.
Right, that's what we're, that's
Right,
what we're looking
right.
at, several different options on that. So,
Good price, but good, yeah.
but they would be so pretty in the evening as well to do that, the walk of honor, walk of, what do we say? Like walk of honor is Memorial Day and walk of heroes. Walk of heroes is Memorial Day, walk of honor is Veterans Day. But then having those lights in the evening, just kind of light the path too, I think would be a really pretty addition. So, okay. Yes, all right.
And since you brought up flags, and the mayor's got a new pole downtown, can we go back to the flag program?
Well, that probably is an option now because that was one of the biggest things with the banner project is that they didn't approve us using them for the banner. So we could definitely go back and revisit the banner project.
I mean, we do have some up, and they've been up 10, 12 years at least.
No, I think we took down all the old ones and we redid them about 4 years ago because the old ones had faded so bad. But the ones that are currently up that are just town banners are ours. And we, have that agreement with them, but when we tried to add the additional banners, they didn't approve the poles. They said they were not in good condition for that. So we could definitely revisit that since they've all been replaced, except for the windstream poles. They kind of hard, so. But I'll pull out and see if I can find the contact for that to it. All right,
Thank you, board.
We need a motion on this.
So moved.
Great. Second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Say aye. That motion carries. Great. Town attorney update.
Everything in my update will be discussed in closed session.
Town manager report.
You guys have a printed copy of this, and I'll try to just go over it quickly. The first thing is just talking about the issue that Michael mentioned about the Handy's water tank situation that we're having with 49 a couple weeks ago not filling, and looking at backup sources for emergency for our customers. The joint meeting with Handy was canceled, and when I spoke to Mr. Hennett, he said if we could look at possibly like the end of March doing a reschedule or the 1st of April, kind of get through that blue season. So I'll be back in contact with him. He was also waiting on a report to come back from their engineers. So they are no longer, I don't think they've made it official, but they are considering making a larger connection for water source with Davidson Water instead of the connection with Albemarle that was supposed to span the bridge at 49 at Tuckertown. That is what they're waiting on, is information back from the engineer that they want to present that to us at that meeting as well. Chris Coyer was in town working with Todd Yates. Todd Yates does our utility patching, and so there's still some patches to be done. He has a list of those, but then also looking at some patchwork on Knollwood, Meadowdale, and Tamworth. Those will be some areas that we're going to do on our paving. And Yates Paving will be in town tomorrow doing that, and then Haynes will be in hopefully within the next couple of weeks getting started on the paving project that we've approved recently. The 109 water project is almost complete. Sam Walford and his team have been working really hard to get that done. As you can tell, the shortstop building is in, and they won't be long at the rate they're moving. They'll be in business serving burgers and shakes, so we're all looking forward to that. But Mr. Walford and his team has done a great job on that, and they've had a lot of help with some engineering. Chief James and I have been looking into some issues with the speeding throughout the residential areas of town, and in this report I've copied what our ordinance states that our speed limit is in the residential parts of town. And it has been discovered that the speed limit should be 20 miles an hour on streets, and they are not posted. So they are not able to really enforce that if they're not posted. So we're looking at potential of posting where that is needed. It does state in the ordinance that if it is a business district, and our business districts are really NCDOT roads, and through this areas that I've highlighted, the majority of those are 20 mile an hour except for on Peacock. And Peacock right now is 35, if I'm stating that correctly. The others are 20, so residential areas being 25 based on our ordinance. So we're looking at hopefully reducing some of the issues that we're having with the speed through, community neighborhoods. There is another area in town that we're looking at that this doesn't help, maybe put in 4-way stops so that it causes people to not have a straight stretch that they can travel as quick as possible through their neighborhood. We have received a direct funding grant of $50,000, and it is up for our determination as to what we'd like to spend that on. So scope of work, I've sat through webinar last Wednesday on this, and because it's a direct funding, there's no guidance, they're not saying it's directed towards this or that. It is funded to the town, so it would be something that would benefit the general fund portion, not necessarily the enterprise fund. So I'll be bringing back some ideas for you guys. I know we've got several projects that are in place, but that also is in works with the direct funding that's coming from the state of the $2 million that we were granted with the state budget, and working with the grant team management on that, what's required, what the requirements are for that to reach and be able to get that funding. Received a call last week from the North Carolina League of Municipalities, and have a meeting scheduled with them this week where ARPA funds have been accessed to the state, and they're giving them those to work with local municipalities on grant writing. And they called to see if we were interested. I told them we absolutely were, and so we'll be bringing that back before the board for approval. Dayton Rugg, who is with Borderline, came by the office, and we had a long conversation about our AMI meters that we talked to him about, I'm guessing 6 to 8 months ago. And I'm just going to pass this around. The quote came back a lot less. Originally it was $450,000, I believe, but the price on the meters have dropped, and so it is something that I want you guys to be able to take and look over, and let's discuss as far as having those meters replaced as we're doing it. So, and I can have Dayton come back. He said he's more than glad to come back and do a presentation, since we have 2 new members who have not heard that.
Here's only one of those.
Okay.
Is that yours?
I thought I sent it to you.
Another copy?
The other copy is for.
That's a break the last time or what?
No, the cost came down.
That much? Heck.
That's what they said. So I was shocked too. So Elizabeth's going to make copies of the actual effect that we'll have on the revenue expenses coming in, and we'll get that copy sent out. We won't wait for it, but take it and review it, and then if you'd like, I'll have Dayton come back to us at the March meeting, and he can answer any questions that you may have at that time. You have a copy of the last speed study from December 23rd to January 25th, and that was at West Salisbury in front of the school. We still have that out there, trying to promote people to slow down in the school area. It's interesting, Mayor Ward and I looked at it today, and if you look at the amount of traffic, incoming vehicles, you have 45,000 in that time frame, and outgoing was 47. Of course, there's some duplicates. Those of us who ride around town a couple, 2-3 times a day, and you hit that both times, but still a lot of traffic on that road. And the speed itself is fairly intact with 35 as being the average. There are a couple who I feel probably were testing out to see how fast the car was running, but overall, that's what that was showing. They still have it there, right? It's still there this morning. The other report is from ACE, and they have updated this form to give you everybody who's open or who's currently been abated. Paula has been asking for this information to stay updated as much as possible. I did mention to them that they provide a file that gives like detail on reports. So we're going to try to pull that in and just email that out to you guys so you can look at, if you pull one that's recently been opened, if you wanted to see what the process is on it and where they are, that would be made available. Okay.
I'll try to see to put dates on there.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Angel, on the speed radar thing, I mean, really, 99% are traveling right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, is that what you saw, Chief? Yeah. So you have just that few, like I said,
So, I mean,
probably.
percentages, that's not bad.
Yeah, percentages is not bad. But, you know, our concern is too that when it is during school hours that people, we've had cases where one officer was hit, I don't know if you know that story, but while doing traffic and had to physically just put their hands on the car and say, stop, because they were running through the crosswalk with people in it. So it's just, I think people get busy. That or blinded by the sun or something like that. The other thing, I did list 3 dates. I'm looking at having a budget retreat and trying to plan around when Chief Dorsett would be available. Let's see. He gave me his schedule today, and these 3 dates in March work really well for him. So if you can look at your calendar and let me know what would be easier for y'all to work around. Is there any in particular, anyone that stands out that says no?
I'd probably rather not the 27th,
Okay,
but, you know.
all right. So 13th or 19th.
Are we looking at March?
Mhm.
What's the next
Tuesday,
year?
28th.
13th and
Mhm.
19th.
It's Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah, Easter is that last week in March.
The 19th will work better for me.
Not Tuesday. Is better. Yeah.
Okay, so it's 19th good?
Yeah, 19th.
All right, so we'll do our budget retreat just here at Town Hall.
And it starts earlier.
5:30.
So you don't have to call me this
I
time.
was gonna say that.
What time?
5:30. Is that, Hayden, does that time work well for you? Is that okay?
Last year, hey, I didn't show up. And they called, is your family? Yeah, I'm coming. Well, we started at 5:30. This was like 5:45.
And we normally do a meal too, so we'll have supper for everyone. Do you guys want, I know the department heads have asked, PowerPoint, do you want PowerPoint printed? Does it matter for their?
It's nice when they do
items?
that.
I don't care where I have PowerPoint, but I like that print. So
I like to see
Just-
up there.
If it's photos, whatever, either PowerPoint or printed or both. Okay.
Printed either way.
Either way.
Does or not.
Gotcha. Will do.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, while I'm here and I have the floor, I'm gonna go ahead and address, the Commissioner Morris sent me some questions to ask, and I'll be honest, I thought Sunny Engineer was gonna be here tonight and we were gonna add them to the agenda. Bobby Kivett was here this afternoon with, Doug Hunt to sign the easements for the Shawntae LLC, I think that's how it is. But he said, I'll be back in a little bit, we'll review the maps and look at everything. And that was about 3 o'clock. And he hadn't made it back yet. So I don't know where he is and what's going on, but he and Matt Sunny had reviewed everything and had information to present, but I don't know what happened. I looked at my phone to make sure he didn't leave a text or call, so I'm not sure what happened with him there. Labella, I had reached out to Heather Miller. I have not received her communication back on her reports. I did ask her for those monthly reports. The sewer plant repairs, you know, the bar screening was submitted in December, so I think she's just in the process of waiting for that. I'm at my best guess, because that's what she had stated to us, that she was going to submit it in December, and we're waiting on the state to approve that. Again, she has not provided that report.
When's the last time you talked to her?
Well, before Christmas, and as you guys know, I've been out 2 or 3 days a week since Christmas because of being sick, but I talked to her right before Christmas. I'm sorry.
Your voicemail's still working, isn't it?
It is, and so I've not had a voicemail from her, so I will say that. I've not had email or a voicemail from her, so I will.
Before Christmas.
Yes.
It's only February. I wasn't expecting it.
February 5th, but
I think would have fired their eyes.
Well, I will definitely give her a call first thing in the morning. I will update you guys and just let them know we're not happy with the way this is progressing with these projects. So I will absolutely state that to them that we need some
Tell her what I said.
direction. I will tell them if you give me permission
Yes,
to
ma'am.
say it. I will say it.
If I say it, say it exactly like I said.
I can do that. Let's see, I'll skip over the ORC, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So the sewer plant repairs, part of that, and one of the things is those clarifiers. The one has been rebuilt and it is ready to be installed, which will be installed tomorrow. So that'll be a huge benefit for Troy to have that back online. And the other is the metal. Did we ever get a welder for that? So.
Waiting on the cutting guy to get back, find out when he's gonna do the cutting.
Okay, so those two processes should be, one will be installed tomorrow, hopefully within the week, be back into operation. So the other two questions is the 10-inch line on 47 and then connecting it to the hydrant that's there at 47 and Main. It all kind of works together, and still part of that hydraulic study that I thought we were going to have tonight from Sunny. So the 4-inch line on 47, Michael and I have talked, we even talked about it today. If there's the pressure there and if it helps with the pressure, then it definitely would be of our benefit. But again, I don't have that report from Sunny to bring. If Bobby comes in tomorrow and has it, I will scan it in and I will send it out to y'all. And if not, I'm going to call Mac and ask him where that information is, because you know it's his report as well. He has to sign off on it. The hydrant, I know that we had looked at that as, you know, we've had to tag it as not for fire use. So being able to tie it back in, if we can get pressure to that so that it is better for the use of, if they needed to use that to put out a fire, we'll definitely put that in with that process. And maybe whatever it is that we need to do to better that pressure, maybe it can all be done at one time and not have to do separate projects on it. So that would be the goal, to be able to do that. And then the joint meeting with Handy and Denton, like I said, we're trying to look at end of March, 1st of April. Now we have a budget retreat date. I'll push that out to Daryl and ask him what works best for them. Being that Easter's the last week in March, does he want to move it back to the mid of March, or does he want to look at the mid, second week of April?
The sooner the better. I mean,
Okay.
like Michael's problem,
Exactly.
The sooner we talk, I would think it'd be better.
Okay. And like I said, we had a great conversation that day, not the day that everybody was sick and all, but Since then, we've had good conversation, and Daryl says he'd like to keep this line of communication open. So with having that come from them, I think we need to take advantage of that and say, we need you guys that when we tell you you have a leak, that your guys are truly going out and looking for a leak. I think that was part of the concern that day, is that there was nothing coming back to us. We're saying your tank's not holding, but we're not getting feedback, and we've got to get that communication line open. And like I told Michael, it's not a new problem. I remember this conversation from previous operators, previous ORCs have said the same thing, that, they know that there's something going on, but they're not the one having to manufacture the water and man the water plant 24/7. They're just having to find a leak, fix the leak, and go home. So I think we definitely have to have that conversation to figure out a better open line of communication, that they're actually invested in looking for it and taking care of it when it's needed.
And they need to know that we're short operators if they know anybody.
And they do. They know that.
I tried to get two other guys to go to operate school.
Yeah, Michael told them, you need to be operators so that you understand what process we're having to go through. Because in all reality, they're fixing a water leak and they're able to go home. Our people are, 4 or 5 hours paying for that water leak, having to run the plant. So, like Michael said, everything that we seem to be doing is to provide that service to them. Our services are fine, but it's providing service to them. So, any other questions that we have covered through the department heads or anything else this evening? And it's been a long meeting, a lot of information.
But Sammy does have the hydraulic study.
From what Bobby said to me, that they have this information ready, and that when he left here today with Doug Hunt, he said, I'll be back by, we'll look at everything and have it ready.
Okay.
So, like I said, if whatever happened this evening, I'm not sure.
Because did they know where the 2-inch line's going, not going, 10-inch line's going or not going or anything?
I'm not going to say yes or no. I know that he's looked at it. No.
Then they don't know.
I just know from what we looked at that last information, that when they did received the grants and they did the study about doing an interconnection, or not interconnection, a merger, how do I best say that? In looking at the two systems, and they did that. The diagram that is provided through that on their system that came from their engineers is that they were supposed to be connected to that 10-inch water line, and that's not where they're connected. And so that has been a question back to them. I do know that Bobby Kivett did have a conversation when we tested the North Main pump station, and Handy's employees asked, what the reason behind this is, and he said, well, we're trying to see, why you connected to this wrong line, and they seem to be not sure of that. They didn't know any more information than what we've known over the years. We just figured that they had connected correctly. But, if they connected to the wrong line, that's what's causing a lot of our problems.
Did you, one of our meetings, the last one, was going to find out if that was what they did, if they connected.
Right, and so Max Summey reached out to their engineer and asked him for all the diagrams of that, to see if they could get better, the engineering portions from them. So again, I apologize that they're not here. Like I said, 3 o'clock, everything was on go, but I don't know what happened. Not sure where he is. So, but I'll provide you an update on them and also on Labella. Both engineers. So.
And on the meters, I mean, I hope you'll come and do, but I think we should really get another quote from somebody.
Well, we absolutely can. With it being under 300,000 now, we don't have to bid out because it's under it. The one thing I will say, and I know Michael would say this as well, Fort Line is the type of company that anytime we have ever had a problem, an emergency situation, if we need water lines, whatever it is, they are there immediately. And so that's one thing that we absolutely have over the years had a relationship with them, and it's been a good benefit for us. We did have a gentleman who came through wanting to bid that out, and since we've gotten this new bid back, I'll reach out to them, because it's just a matter of providing our service connections, how many it is, and asking for them to give them a quote. And if it's pleasure board, I'll ask them to provide that before the March meeting, so we can look at it then. So it really would be a benefit. It'll be a huge benefit for, revenue boost, but also in our water loss, catching those leaks quicker for, the residents and for us as well. So. Okay. Anything else you guys have?
Commissioner comments and concerns.
I had someone come to me today, and he is a business owner in Denton, and over the past 5 years, whenever we've had like whatever big rain we've had, the property in front of him, part of the area was paved and part has not been paved, and the part that has not been paved, every time it rains, more and more of the broken up asphalt that's there keeps washing in front of his place. I have my notes in the car, but he's had this problem like the past 5 years. First 3 times, nothing was really, it was some, but not bad. The 4th year that it happened, he saw town people cleaning out the storm drain, because there's a storm drain right between that property and his property. And so this time, I took pictures and you can't even see where there's a storm drain, because I went down there today, because after the huge rain, it's completely covered with asphalt, and you can't even tell that there's supposed to be a storm drain there.
Where's that at?
And
it's over behind Denton Propane,
yes,
in front of the insurance company.
And he said that the renter in front of him doesn't own that property, but he rents. And the renter reported to him that he had called and asked if the storm drain was going to be cleaned out, and was told that it was a, that's why I need my notes.
If you don't mind, I'll address this.
Thank you.
So, the owner of Denton Propane called, and he asked me if our town crew would go in and clean out the gravel that had washed into the parking lot of the building directly behind them. Is it Alan Surratt? Is that right?
And let me also say, Alan is not upset. He's just trying to get answers.
Right. So, it's private property. Like, if the storm drain is covered, then absolutely we'll clean the storm drain. The conversation I had with the owner, and his name has left me, but the owner of Ray. He, wanted to say, well, if we kept our storm drains clean, the town wouldn't flood. And I had to, just state that the obvious of 4 inches of rain in a short amount of time is going to flood anywhere, and the whole county was flooded, in respect. But his question to me was, would we go clean the gravel out of that parking lot and put it back in his parking? And I said, no, we don't do private property work like that. But he never mentioned to me that the grate itself was covered over.
And see, that is a story that is not the story that Alan told me. Alan said, because I repeated it back to him, I said, I want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying.
Right.
And he said that Ray communicated that he wanted the storm drain cleaned out.
Okay.
Alan did not mention to me anything about everything that had gone down.
And so Ray said to me, they rent from the Bingham family. And he just didn't want to have to bother Miss Bingham with the issue of the back parking lot busting up and it washing down. He was just going to take care of. He said, it's my busy season. I can't get there to clean it up myself. And he instructed Mr. Surratt if he would pay someone or get someone to clean that up, put it back in his parking lot, and he would reimburse him for it. But he, again, didn't mention that there was a storm drain that covered. He said, he made mention that if we would keep our storm drains clean, well, we all know that before a storm we have to check them. We try to make sure that they're all clear, because we know anytime they're predicting that much rain, we're gonna have a problem. So we talked about that at length, and he, shared his concerns with that and how Troy sometimes can miss one because there are the companies in Troy. And I did tell him that I do understand that, but we do try. But he did not indicate there was a drain tile covered, so we'll look at that. And I'll reach back out to him and Mr. Schrapp if that's okay.
That would be great.
Okay, I'll do that.
That way they'll know I did communicate. But I because that seems to happen every time it rains. They did asphalt all the way up to the propane tank, but did not put any asphalt behind, and that's what looked to me like is what's causing an issue. And it looks like it's starting to degrade the asphalt underneath the propane tank, which may make it unstable at some point. So they may need to asphalt the rest of that.
Well, and like I said, I don't know if that's something that the propane company did, or if it was it always gravel before and
It was asphalted before when it was first made.
Okay.
But it's just deteriorated over time. And Mr. Bingham went and paved up to that place, but not beyond that.
Okay.
And
so under the tanks, they need to do some maintenance on that.
Yes.
I've seen it, I know exactly.
Okay. All right.
They should have cleaned out the storm drain. It's been like that, and I wouldn't think they'd miss it. I mean, it's the same one, been there for 100 years.
Right, and so, with as much gravel as has washed down there, I mean, it's just built up in that front area of that business. With our crew drive through, it may just not realize, oh my gosh, it's covered, but there was so much rain through that area that the entire street was covered.
Right.
So it did come up quick, and as Chief James will attest, it was, we had that one vehicle that came out through that parking lot and got stuck, and they had to pull out too, so.
Anyway, I just wanted to convey that.
I will reach out to them. I will.
Thank you.
And while we're on that, are we gonna get this rest of this ditch cleaned out, Michael?
So we just had a conversation today.
Bully boy.
We had a conversation right before the meeting with Glenn Hayes, and by the way, he said to tell you hello. He was in the office, and he is wanting to look for some grants to see if there's something that can help clean that creek bed out, to be able to come in and get with the state as well, and be able to go in and have it maybe even cut deeper so that it can help with the flow. I mean, the tile we had put in did what it was supposed to do. It pushed the water through, but there's still so much coming in at one time.
Yeah, but there's still several, we cleaned it out of ways.
Yeah.
Anytime you restrict it, it's slowing it down, it's backing it up.
Yes, absolutely. So, Mr. Hayes mentioned that this evening, right about 5 o'clock, and I told him I'd reach out to him and see. He said he'd be glad to do anything he could to try to help with that. So, I think whatever we can do, and Michael knows better about what's allowed through that area.
You can't mess with the cattails, I know.
Can't get it in there.
We did that, right?
Yeah.
No room to run
And when we had that issue,
it. Walk tractor down.
2000.
You run it on one side, but not the other side.
There's only one place you could run the tractor, because it's too steep. You can't get close enough to it to reach over and do anything, because it's too steep.
And when we had the hurricane that came through, was it 2018, and the environmental control came in, and we were, trying to get something done to reinforce that bank, and they put some restrictions. I mean, they did not want us to do anything, especially like cattails or whatever.
But we have been through that lots of times. I did have somebody ask me, had we ever had the Army Corps of Engineers look at it?
Yes, they came out right after, I can't remember which hurricane it was, but they did come out.
Okay.
And we went through a process of trying to, it was before we ever had this tile project, but they didn't want us to do a whole lot of changes. They don't want you to make.
And I told that person, I said, I know the years I've been on there, it's been looked at, and you're just limited to what you can do because of.
And it's really hard because, they're just looking at today. They're not looking at it when it is the problem,
And this is what, Army Corps of Engineers had told me, DOT told me after, in 2015, when the store flooded, that, because I marched my happy little self out there to see the Department of Transportation and told them that their pipe wasn't big enough. And they flipped back with, Army Corps of Engineers says it is of sufficient size. And then I threw my words out and I said, well, the topography behind the store has changed. I said it used to be woods and now it is open fields. And so therefore, the pipe is no longer sufficient to carry all the water volume. And then after that exchange happened, I marched myself back into the store, called Stan Bingham and said, Department of Transportation is here and they don't believe me. And then he said, well, let me handle it. And so Pat Ivy came out and showed him the same pictures and video that I had shown the rest of the Department of Transportation. He asked for it because he could see it while it was flooding. Because one of them said, well, you've got stuff stored in front of that pipe. I said, sir, that was picked up by the water and carried down to the pipe. It wasn't, we don't store it there. So anyway, after about 3 months, they came back and said, Army Corps of Engineers has determined that it is not of sufficient size and we will be putting another pipe in. So if you could get videos of while it's flooding.
We've got video. Mayor and I rode around.
Then that's what we need to start giving to Department of Transportation and Army Corps of Engineers. Because had I not had those videos, they never would have believed me.
Yeah, and they don't. People don't believe it until they see it.
Yeah, and then they go,
listen, there were several places, and I just told Mayor if he was going to drive through it, I was going to get out. Because, you know, it's across the road, and a couple of them were a little iffy as to whether the road would still be there. So, but I did take videos while he was driving and pictures, so we do have that.
I mean, I would go back to him time and time again.
And there are a couple of low spots. I did send out to Mr. Yates and asked him if he would look out with just the way they graded it, that's not flowing off of the sides of the road. And he said he'd be more than glad to come back out. He actually came out while it was raining and looked at it. So he said they would fix those areas as well. So, but the creek bed itself, it does need attention. Most definitely.
Okay, are we good?
Yeah.
Any other concerns? This time we'll go into closed session to discuss attorney-client privilege and personnel.
I make a motion that we go into closed session.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye. Now in closed session. Okay, you need to go down there, look at that creek. There's 2 rooms, check that out.